call this meeting to order. We're going to have Rosie Arcia start us with the Pledge of Allegiance. In our customer service department, the reason all those people drive here.
Yes, sir. Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rosie. All right, if I could have a roll call, please, Diane?
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to adopt the agenda for today's meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Oral communications, I don't believe we have any. No. Notice to the public, we don't need to do that. Okay. Consent calendar.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Action items, boy, that was real quick.
Well, you can have any questions.
This must be reminiscent of the old days. Action item 2.1, approval of reimbursement agreement for the construction of desalinated water connection.
Rob's going to take this one. I'll give you just a little background. As you're aware, the district, 2-second version of what's in the memo, the district has entered into a letter of intent to purchase desalinated water directly from the Water Authority. That contract is still pending for the actual final contract that we signed to say we'll buy it. Because of some cost of service issues that are still continuing to go on at the Water Authority, that contract is not quite ready to be brought back forward yet. This is the first part of moving forward with it, and I'll have Rob explain the connection point and what we're recommending today.
Has anyone signed this contract yet?
Carlsbad has indicated they are also going to purchase. They have approved what we are going to be approving today, which is construction. But the actual desal contract for purchase, we, along with Carlsbad, the only ones, but we don't have a final contract yet. The Water Authority does with Poseidon to buy the water and build it.
Oh, okay.
But the actual terms and the cost of the final cost to reclaim water to us, the analysis that we brought to the board was the worst case analysis. Since then, some inefficiency costs that they thought would be in there have now dropped out, so we're not going to be responsible for that. So the cost is actually coming down, and we think there's one more piece that might get taken out, but we don't know yet. So,
And explain to me why this falls into the category of reclaimed water.
did I say reclaimed?
Yeah.
I said, oh, desal, sorry.
Oh, okay. No, I thought maybe there was something there that.
Too many kinds of water on my mind, sorry.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Good afternoon, President Martin, directors of the board. My name is Robert Schull, the Capital Facilities Engineer for the district, presenting to you here the approval of a reimbursement agreement for construction of a desalinated water connection. As Mr. Lamb stated here, back in November 21st, 2012, the district board did adopt a resolution of intent to enter into an agreement with the County Water Authority for the purchase of 3,500 acre-feet of desalinated water a year. Where we would get this water would be at our, what we call our Vallecitos 9 connection, which is at approximately the intersection of Pawnee and Cherokee, which is just east of Rancho Santa Fe and just north of Linda Vista in San Marcos. That's where the County Water Authority's second aqueduct is. In order to make this connection, we have a few facilities that need to be constructed. Thank you, Diane. As you see here, what we have is we need to construct a turnout to the proposed 54-inch desalinated water pipeline from the County Water Authority. Turnout just basically is the connection. We'll run about 400 feet of 16-inch pipeline to our existing Vallecitos 9 flow control facility. And it'll also require the installation of an isolation valve vaults. On March 10th, 2014, the County Water Authority submitted a few different alternatives to us along with cost alternatives for how we can construct this. And I kind of broke it down there in that figure in A, B, and C. I'll kind of turn to that here as well.
And I'm sorry, do you have a pointer or something? You can point to some things in here. Oh, there you go.
Yes, yes. his
He
name
is the
James
pointer.
Brown.
You have a guy. You have a guy.
Pretty high tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll start here.
Okay, one more-
Basically,
one more
alternative.
question. Hold on, one second.
Oh, sorry.
Eddie, have it?
Mr.
Oh,
Scholl,
yes, ma'am.
will you remind me what the isolation valve vault is for?
Sure. The isolation valve vault there, we currently have a connection to what's called the tri-agency pipeline. That is where we currently get our potable water from at this connection. What the isolation valve vault will do is allow us to trade in between either getting water from the tri-agency pipeline or getting desalinated water from the 16-inch.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So alternative A, as presented by the County Water Authority, that's basically the construction of Part A that James is referring to there. It's approximately 230 feet of 16-inch pipeline from the 54-inch pipeline to the northern property line of the existing Vallecitos 9 flow control facility property. County Water Authority has put this cost at $220,000. If they constructed this portion, then the district, ourselves here, we would construct what's called parts B and C. Part B being approximately 100 feet of 16-inch pipeline from the property line to the isolation valve vault, and then part C is the isolation valve vault itself. Another alternative here, what we're calling alternative B, the County Water Authority's contractor would install both parts A and B, which is basically the turnout plus approximately 330 feet of pipeline from the 54-inch all the way to the isolation valve vault, as James is pointing out there. That would leave just the isolation valve vault itself for the district to construct. And the total cost for that from the Water Authority would be $320,000. And then alternative C is basically the County Water Authority will construct everything here. They'll construct parts A, B, and C. So you'll have the turnout connection, 400 feet of 16-inch pipeline, and the construction of the isolation valve vault. And thus the district would not be responsible for any further construction. So staff has evaluated these alternatives, and after evaluation, we determined that alternative one is likely to be the most cost-effective. We can probably get a better bid price there for parts B and C. Also, we can probably run the construction of these in parallel with the County Water Authority's contractor while they construct the 54-inch desal equipment as well as Part A of our 16-inch turnouts. So the idea there is to pay, as in the form of a reimbursement agreement, $220,000 to the County Water Authority for the construction of the turnout and 230 feet of 16-inch pipeline. And then Vallecitos will hire its own contractor to perform the balance of the work, which is parts B and C. So with that, the recommendation is to approve agreement with the County Water Authority in the amount of $220,000 for the design and construction of a new Carlsbad desalination project, desalination connection facilities. And I'd love to answer questions.
Questions, Director Hernandez?
Yes, sir.
Was there an analyzation of us doing all of it?
That it gets difficult for us to do Part A because it has to do with their contractor being on site at the same time that our contractor would be working on site. Their contractor is going to be installing the 54-inch and be working within that area. If we wanted to install this at the same time as the County Water Authority, we'd kind of be in their way, and the County Water Authority wasn't comfortable with us working in the same area at the same time with their contractor. They were just afraid of conflicts.
And us doing it later doesn't fit into the program? after they're gone, we do our stuff?
The cost we reviewed for that first 200 feet is a very fair cost. We think that's a good cost.
Mhm.
The balance of it, really what it comes down to is, it's probably more of a burden on them to deal with that small amount and that small connection than it is for us to take care of it.
Mhm.
The first piece, because they've already got the equipment there, digging, trenching, everything else, that's where we're gonna get the economy of scale.
Okay.
Director Poto?
Yeah, I got a little bit lost because you were talking about 1, 2, and 3, and then you were talking A, B, and C. So can you just show me again what it is that you're proposing, staff's proposing?
Sure.
As what we're going to do and what
Diamond?
SDCO.
Yeah, Vanna? We do have pointers, but these screens, they eat the laser up. They don't show.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because they weren't designed to take it, so when you do use them, it just eats it up.
Yeah, it doesn't show on the screen at all. Okay, so the part that we're looking at constructing ourselves would be what we call Part A here.
No.
And that is from the 54-inch pipeline from the County Water Authority.
As a part,
That's the
Water
Oh,
Authority.
I'm sorry, this is the part that the county water authority's contractor would do.
Right.
They would do this portion here, and then we would do this portion here, which is this Part B, which is approximately 100 feet of 16-inch here, as well as all the piping within the isolation valve vault, as well as the valves.
Okay, thank you.
You had used a word during is that we could probably do it less expensively. What's probably?
Probably is,
You can't.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, I'm gonna say I'm somewhere in the 90 percentile range sure that we can beat their cost on especially the pipeline installation.
A savings of approximately how much?
I'm gonna say about $100,000.
And you're confident that that would go out to bid as well, I assume?
Yeah, we would bid that out ourselves, and yeah, pretty confident we're gonna beat County Water Authority's price. That's really the primary reason for doing this.
It's cost.
Correct.
Plus you don't want other people messing with your valve. Would that be considered pretty sure?
It's actually a water authority property. We own it, maintain it, but it's sort of like the water meter is that we have. That's our water meter off the water authority connection.
Okay. So 100,000 is what we're looking at for a savings.
That's what I'm hoping for, yeah.
We're hoping with you, we're writing it all down. 100,000 is the savings. Any less? You'll figure it out.
Question?
Any, oh,
No, go ahead.
I have 3 questions, and am I ahead of your report? Do you have a lot more to say?
Oh, no,
Oh,
that
okay.
concludes my
I don't
report,
want-
yeah.
Okay, my first question was, if Poseidon and the desal is a little bit ahead of schedule, will this be ready if it comes on board early? And my second question is, on page 39, when I was reading through this, I think it's just a typo error, but I was confused by it. It's part double I at the top of page 39, and it just reads, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, like fifth sentence down, it says the relief obligation shall be applied to the Vallecitos 9 desal connection facility, and the district shall be reimbursed the water. I didn't mean, will they reimburse us, or are we reimbursing them?
Oh, I
Can
think
you
the
read that?
B,
It's just a typo.
Oh,
I'm
It's
just-
a
take B out.
typo, you're
Take
right.
B out.
Yeah.
They'll reimburse us
no, we
No,
will
we will
reimburse
reimburse.
them.
if
That's
it's
for
due to an uncontrollable circumstance.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
I read
Shall
it.
reimburse.
good point. I
Okay.
read that and didn't even see that, but you're right.
No,
That's a
I
great
just
catch.
trying to figure it out. And then on page 40, it says the facility will be designed to uniformly deliver 3,500 acre feet per year. Does that mean if we at some point chose to purchase more, we would have to do something else?
Well, that option,
that all we
that
have?
option is yet to be determined if we'll even have that option in the future. It was discussed before, but I don't know if it made it through the whole process
I
of the contract.
understand. I was
But
just-
what it's sized for is the 3,500 acre feet. We'd have to check the hydraulics of it to see if it does the 75, or unless you already done that.
Yes, sir, at 7,500 acre feet a year, that pipeline would do 7.5 feet per second, which really should be fine.
Would, should be,
Okay.
That should be satisfactory, yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
should be.
I knew it was just an option, but I thought if we've talked about it, then
Very
it
word.
should be addressed. Thank you. I think that was it. Thank you.
Director Polo?
I make a motion, we accept staff recommendation.
You have a motion, wait for a second, and a second, roll call, please.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Portal?
Yes.
Director Snella?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. 2.2, approval of construction agreement for 12-inch water main relocation. Diana's going to give the presentation.
I'm sorry, James, go ahead.
Thank you, President Martin, members of the board. This is a relocation of the existing 12-inch water main that's located on Palomar College. There's an existing easement with a 12-inch water main that goes through the property currently, and with the expansion of and development of a future child development center, the existing pipe needs to be relocated. So as you can see from the figure, you see where the existing pipe is and the new location. There's approximately a little less than 1,000 feet, 983 feet of 12-inch main that's going to be abandoned, a new one to be installed parallel to it. To accommodate the college process and their schedule, staff is actually requesting the board to approve the project prior to the fees. Normal engineering and inspection deposits are normally paid. But to accommodate their schedule, staff is actually recommending that we move forward with this. However, the construction drawings and the agreement won't be signed until all the fees are paid. With that, the performance bonds have already been received, supplied by the contractor, and staff recommends approval of the construction agreement unless there's any other questions.
I have one question. When you take a business the size of the college and you hook your water up to it, and they start adding things, as this is probably be a child development center, and I'm assuming it's gonna be a building, because where the pipeline is now is in the middle of a parking lot. No reason to move it unless you're gonna put a
The
building.
building there, yeah.
How do we recapture the extra cost of excess sewer?
The extra capacity?
Yeah.
Yeah. The way the water does is Gina, sitting here, one of her primary primary roles when she goes through as an account analyst is we look at all water meters. And as they have a certain amount of capacity that they've purchased. So the college would have a certain amount that they purchased. When the amount of water that goes to the meter goes beyond what they've purchased, then we then bill them for the additional capacity. So it can either be paid as a capacity or it can be a surcharge that gets put onto the rate itself. And then I believe we have a sewer meter on the college as well. So they paid for a certain amount of capacity, then we just track it through the sewer meter. And then when they go over, they pay additional. Same arrangement we have with CSU San Marcos. We have the two big meters. They have a certain amount they paid for, and then they have two sewer meters and a certain amount they paid for. It's an ongoing tracking. The only thing we don't track are single-family homes. But businesses and everything else we do track.
So no matter how large they become, like the university, for instance, started off as nothing and
Right.
it's growing and growing and
And as they
growing.
grow, they buy additional
They
capacity.
come to us first and then.
Yeah, they'll usually let us know. The trick with the university is they get funding every now and then. So they can get additional money for O&M very easily. Capacity fees are a different animal. They only get them now and then when they have to tell ahead of time. So the agreement we have with them is, okay, if you owe us $10,000, when you do finally get your next allocation of funds, it's $10,000 plus the interest. And then they pay us whenever they get the funds.
Thank you. Any other questions? Open for a motion?
So moved that we accept staff's recommendation on this.
Second?
Moved and second. Roll call, please.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Portal?
Yes.
Director Snella?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes. Item 2.3, approval of construction agreement for 16-inch water main temporary relocation. And this is for San Marcos Unified School District.
James, please.
Thank you, President Martin, members of the board. Similar to the previous item, there's an existing 16-inch main that goes through what the future K-8 site for San Marcos Unified School District, which is off of San Luis Road on top of basically San Luis Hills. That's an existing main line that feeds our Coronado Hills tank from our pump station. During the grading operation, for the school, a new line is going to be installed, but however, in the interim, to accommodate the grading, a temporary line has to be installed, so this way we maintain service to our customers within Coronado Hills. With that, the school district is going to be submitting the drawings separately for the temporary line, and also similar to the previous item, to accommodate their schedule. Staff is recommending that we move forward prior to receiving the engineering and inspection fees. However, the drawings and the construction agreement will not be signed until the fees have been received, and the bond will also be posted by the school district's contractor at that time. With that, unless there's any other questions, be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's really a question of explaining to me why this is called a temporary water high line, and you didn't, what is a high line, I guess?
So what this actually is an above-ground line. So basically, within the school district's property where they're grading, they'll be running over and excavating on top of the existing line.
Oh.
And so what they're doing is they're tapping into the line on both sides where you see the temporary high line, the dotted line. And this line is made of HDPE, basically black plastic pipe. It's going to run above ground, that's why it's called a high line, and connect back in. And it's temporary because when the school district develops their site, a new line, a permanent line will be put in below ground, and that high line will no longer be necessary.
Mr. Hernandez.
And the existing line
And the existing line will be abandoned.
in place?
I don't know if the grading operations will be, I haven't seen the final drawings on that yet. That's still going
But
through. our
that's their
budget.
cost, we don't have to worry about
Yes.
There's actually about a 16 or 18-foot cut there, so pipe's going to be gone.
that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Question, this is a huge expense, obviously. Highline, explain to me, the water coming down, and it's coming from our tanks up on top there, I assume, and it's servicing San Alejo. And you're putting in, you have a very secure water line right now because it's underground. And you're putting in a high line, which is above ground. When I was a kid,
Yeah.
how is that secure? Is that all fenced?
No, it is just above ground, and I would invite you to come out with a sledgehammer and go at it, just to see what you could do. It's called HDPE, high-density polyethylene pipe, and it's this class of this one because it's 300 plus PSI. It's probably 2.5, almost 3-inch thick plastic.
Wow.
And when they put it together, it's a very amazing process. Imagine a really big cheese grater, how it's got the cutting teeth. They pull these two big pieces together in this big jack. They run this cheese grater in between it, and it makes the two surfaces perfectly flat. Then they put a heating iron, in the middle of it, a big plate. They heat the plastic up to melting, then they shove it together. And now that joint is actually stronger than the rest of the pipe. But I don't know what you'd have to take a very large bomb to damage this pipe.
So, and who actually installs this pipe?
Their contractor will do it.
Their contractor
Yeah.
does it?
Yeah, we inspect it and,
Sign off on it?
yeah.
And it's also a similar process we used during San Alejo Hills when they had the high line, our 16-inch pipe up there.
Interesting, what an education. Thank you. Director Sinella.
Yeah, thank you. How long does the district anticipate having this temporary line in place?
Well, we haven't seen the final construction schedule. As we get more into the contract, into the construction, we'll get a schedule from both the school district and the contractor. At that time, we'll know. But the one in San Alejo was in place for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So, and it will be primarily within the fencing of the school district's property. So it won't be completely secure, but there is some security there because of that. At least it's partially fenced.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for a motion?
Move to approve?
Second? First and a second? Roll call, please. Oh, sorry. Another question?
Corey Knowles is out here, who is the director of facilities for San Marcos Unified, so he might be able to give you some additional information if you wanted to know how long.
Oh, Kurt, great.
He's cursing your name right now.
I know. I figured if I'm here, he's gonna come up.
Again, my name is Kari Knowles. I'm the Facilities Director for San Marcos Unified. To answer your question, the construction is scheduled currently for 17 months, so it would be less than that the High Line would be necessary.
Okay, good.
What kind of expense is the High Line?
We're looking at over $300,000
Wow.
for this short run here.
Do
Are
they?
we going to save it for the next time round?
We'll just curl it up in a
Yeah,
ball.
what are those shrinking Lois things?
My question was, the company that does this, do they reuse the pipe? They must.
I don't know that, I'll be
Maybe
honest.
it's total
with you. I'm not
waste
sure.
if we used it.
The way that you're describing, the way that they could possibly reuse it, but I don't know if they actually are.
Yeah, sometimes they do. There used to be a company called Rain for Rent, and it used to be the pipe we used, and it was a 12-inch, you've seen it probably everywhere, you just realize what it was. It's
Irrigation.
12-inch, big irrigation tubing. That's the way they used to do it, but with HDPE, it's more flexible. You can actually curve it and bend it. There's a lot more flexibility for car to make it fit. Some contractors actually have it, and they rent it and reuse it, but a lot of them don't do that because they can have it bought, given back to them, and then they go
They
do
can
another
do what
job
they
and
want.
they charge them again.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But seeing as we're not doing it, not my problem. Mr. Snell?
So just getting back to your 17-month comment, so you're going to be breaking ground relatively soon then?
Yes, they're out there currently clearing and grubbing. If you drive by, the construction, temporary fence is up, and we're off and running right now.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for your consideration on this item.
Thank you.
Looking for a motion?
I have a question for Jeff.
What
Now
else
we
you
got-
do? You have one.
I have a question for Jeff.
Jeff,
How?
you have a question for Jeff?
Yeah.
Is it okay if I vote on this?
You know, you don't need to. I mean,
There's no conflict, though.
yeah. I mean, what,
Well, it's in before, well, I mean,
yeah,
I got it.
yeah.
He's not needed.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I don't see the conflict, but, you know, if you want an abundance of caution,
I'll abstain. Okay.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Polo?
I'll abstain.
Director Snella?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Thank you, James.
Okay, item 2.4, Aqua General Membership Meeting at the Spring Conference.
As indicated in the memo, this is a annual thing that has to take place whenever there is a vote on the bylaws or any change. Each organization has to identify a person allowed to file the vote on behalf of the organization. So that's what's before you today, whoever the board's pleasure that they would like to have our proxy to vote. And what I'm also asking is that whoever the board picks, that if there are any other votes that need to take place at Aqua throughout the rest of the year, that they authorize that person to also make those votes. And with that, it's board's pleasure as to who they would like to identify.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Last year when this took place, the president took the designation, and I think that's appropriate again this year. I would,
Motion?
I move that we have President Martin become our designee.
I'll second that,
Roll call vote?
assuming that you want to.
I'm gonna be there anyhow.
Okay.
Did you hear that train whistle?
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Polo?
Yes.
Director Snella?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes. I'll vote for myself, sure. I do in every election.
You should vote for yourself. And we know you're serious.
Exactly. 2.5, resolution declaring National Public Works Weeks.
As noted in the background, back in 1960, this was initiated by President Kennedy as identifying and honoring basically the public works industry, the world that builds all the public works for the benefit of everybody. This will be the third year in a row that we have adopted this resolution. It doesn't commit the district to anything, it just acknowledges the Public Works Week, and staff would recommend approval.
Can I make?
Please?
Thank you, Mr. President. By any chance, if we do this, do we send this on to the general manager at the city manager? See if the city will do something as well?
I could if you would like us to.
If it's the board's pleasure, I think that would be great.
Sure. No problem. This is roll call along with everything else.
A roll call, please? Oh, wait, motion? Motion.
Motion.
Move for approval? Do I have to state it differently?
You go make your motion.
You're ready, go, it doesn't matter.
Move to approve with the letters being sent to the city manager indicating that our desire to have them also acknowledge the Public Works Week.
Second?
A second, okay, roll call vote?
This will be resolution 1446. Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Little?
Yes.
Director Pinella?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Thank you.
And just for clarification, isn't the city, doesn't the city have a public works department and we don't?
They do have a.
They do identify theirs as a public works department,
They
yes.
have, it, yeah.
Yeah. Whether or not they have this or we're pursuing it, I don't know.
2.6, water and wastewater service rules, regulation, miscellaneous fee, policy ordinance number 186. And this is brought to us by the attention of Director Hernandez that wanted to take a look at it.
Thank you. We had discussed this in the past. Well, actually, we discussed it thoroughly when it was brought to us originally. And then it was discussed yet again and modified again. I don't know if it was modified formally, but I know internally they modified it at the service counter. It still needs a little more tweaking, in my opinion, as and I've done a research and study with some other agencies and some of the public utilities, but on the other side of the fence. And the concern I have is that our window is just a little too tight, particularly for two classifications of ratepayers. One, Social Security and disability. They get their payments religiously on the last day of the month. And I do appreciate that we sent out the bill and they're notified. But with our 3-day window, it sometimes, and it happened to me just last month, that's why I'm bringing this up, you extend over the window, so and I had to come in personally to pay my bill. So I would like to see that, and the average, by the way, in the utilities, in the water districts in our area is 8 days. There's additional information, but I don't think we need to go into that about fees and late fees and letters and notices and telephone calls and all kinds of, and by the way, we do send out a notification, which was what prompted me to come in, which is very beneficial. I really do appreciate that. And they got a lot of great comments on that. But if we could extend that to 5 days, I think that would cover those individuals that get those checks at the very last day of the month.
Can I ask you a question of staff? If someone were to have, and I know they do this with finance, the things you finance, cars, houses, if you have a specific date that you'd rather move your payment date to, you can do that. Obviously, you're gonna, pay an in-between fee or whatever it happens to be, but instead of having it come due on the 10th, you could have it come due on the 20th if you wanted to. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh.
Ours are, I think, the 28th of the month.
Well, ours is a little different. We read meters, so
Yeah.
we have 16 cycles, and that's the 16 times that we send bills. I think we've consolidated a little bit, maybe 14 now or so, but so it really depends when your meter is read, and that really depends geographically where you're located, so that there's a constraint on saying, well, we'll bill this one this day. We can't send one person to read one meter, so that's why they're kind of grouped geographically and are staggered, kind of a natural staggering of when they go out.
Yeah, paying a loan doesn't necessarily impact how they do their billing and rating, it's just the due date payment.
Director Paul?
So you have 16 or 14 different cycles going on.
Originally, it was
Due
16.
dates.
I think we consolidated some of them because of the
So
electronics.
14 or 16
Whatever.
due dates.
Yeah.
So, just walk me through it again, somebody, how that happens. Okay, I have my meter read today, April.
Do you have that presentation, John? If I could, I'd have John, he'll walk you through the
There you go.
calendar again as to how we
Yeah.
go through
And I
it.
know you did this before, so I apologize, but I don't
problem.
remember it either.
Well, it's something you don't do all the time, so why would you remember it?
Yeah,
Please. Can you pull it up the screen, please?
It's here, yeah. Okay. Just a sec.
And by the way, is it always the same date that my meter gets read?
It depends on weekends, holidays, so, you know, it might be around the 5th day, for example, of the month, but then a weekend might bump it up and, or so, it's
So
around
my
the same.
due date isn't always the same,
No,
it changes.
no, because you have weekends,
month.
holidays, sometimes.
These are the slides that I had presented before at the beginning of March at that meeting there. This is the before and after ordinance 186. That is the one that specified when a bill is delinquent, basically, what the due date is. What we had been doing is, the problem that we were running into before ordinance 186 was that the second bill would go out and then the late fee would be assessed on the first bill, so the second bill wouldn't reflect the late fee for the first bill, and customers were being confused, basically, because they would get a bill in the mail, it'd have an amount on it, and then they'd get a late amount and have a late bill and it'd have another amount, and then they'd get another bill and it'd have another amount. So what we tried to do was to make it into a more orderly fashion so that the late fee would be assessed prior to the second bill going out to avoid the confusion. This way, by the time the second bill did go out, it would contain the late fee. What ended up happening was that since we were assessing the late fee a day after the due date, in order to facilitate all this, it was just a little too short. It was just a little, we took the grace period and squeezed it a lot, and that generated a lot of calls from our customers. So then what the process that we adjusted to was basically twofold. We pushed it, instead of 21 days, the delinquent date, we made it 24 days. And that's in a perfect world scenario with no weekends, no holidays. Because when there's weekends and holidays, it actually goes from 24 days, 25 days, 26 days, possibly 27 days, depending on how the cycles play out. The other side of it was we provided a courtesy call rather than mailing late notices. Because when we were mailing late notices, they didn't always get there when they should have, or didn't get read when they should have, or what have you. So, so the courtesy call, like Director Hernandez said, has been working very good. A lot of customers have come in and said, thanks for the reminder. And then there's others that don't listen to it and want to know, why did you call me, type of scenario. So, so that's currently where we are. Our grace period is technically 3 days, but with Fridays, weekends, holidays, it can go out to 5 or 6.
So it's a minimum 3.
Minimum of 3, absolutely, yes.
But when you say grace period, of 3 days, it's actually 24 days from the time they got their bill,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So these 3 days sounds a little bit unreasonable, but that's not really the case. It's really 24 days, and it's actually 53 days from the time that the service was provided, right?
Yes.
And I'm thinking more from a business standpoint when you're thinking about your accounts receivables, but typically you get 53 days out, you're looking for your money. So, I just want to be clear, as we 3 days, if the public's watching and they hear that, it's not actually 3 days, it's more like 24.
From when they receive the bill is 24 days, and we start service at the beginning of the month, so you're receiving the service all the way through the month, the bill goes out, and then it's.
So you are correct, it's 53 days from the time that they do it. But to answer Director Hernandez's question, we did look, if you want to scroll to the next slide, on the number of days, keep going. There was one where you had some others that we contacted.
Oh, yeah, this was just our.
This was just something that we had looked at before we did the policy and what the draft we brought before the board. So this is when a lot of the other agencies close to us, some are 1 and 2 days, some, as you can say, are very long. But we don't know how their whole billing cycle goes. So to say it's 15 days, I don't know. But right now, the minimum, Director Hernandez, is 3 days. And like I said, it can be up to 5 to 7 days. But what we don't want to do is push it to where if something happens this month, now it goes on to next month's bill, and now we're always playing 30 days catch up on explaining. That was the biggest reason here.
And I understand that, and that's why I suggested just moving it to 5 days, and just to be practical, although the bill goes out on the 20th,
Right.
you don't get it until the 27th at the very earliest, probably the 29th day, because of mail. And if you're like me, I see it, I go, great, I go with the bill, I pay my bills at the end of the month, I'll
Yeah.
open it then, and that was the glitch, that in this particular case, checks didn't come through. So I don't think an additional 2 days is gonna make or break us, and again, I think that will capture those individuals like myself, who are in the billing cycle, who get a check at the end of the month religiously, and then we pay our bills.
Director Poodle?
Well, if I have this right, I think we already, in the last discussion, already added 3 days, and this has nothing to do with the end of the month, because we're talking 14 billing cycles or whatever, so.
Well, maybe my group is just lucky and we get ours at the end of the month.
There you go.
Yeah,
So-
most likely is that way, because
So-
again, they're
so then
one after another.
I just want my group to get 5 days. How's that?
That's,
My ratepayers in my division, remember that.
Can we get it automatically with the audit?
If you want to give me your account number, I'll be more than happy to take it out for you on time. Do we have the flexibility within the existing timeframe and policy to just be a little more flexible?
We possibly could. Also, when customers call and they say, I'm on a fixed income, I get paid here, I get paid, we can make notes in the account. We can what they call flag
So
the
we
account
accommodate
so
that
that
over
it
time.
won't get a late fee, so that we know that they're going to pay a little bit longer. I mean, we're always working with the customers, especially when they call us or come in and they want
And-
some consideration.
I must commend again the service department, because these last years in my profession have just been horrific. So I've been to the counter more than a couple of times, and always accommodating, more than courteous. They've done a yeoman's job. This has no reflection, but when I discussed this with them, that was one of the things that they indicated to me, that there are more people like myself who get this government check at the end of the month, and maybe it is just my billing cycle group, but they didn't indicate that, so.
I would be guessing you're a flagged account.
I'm sure I must be flagged.
They're laughing. They know it.
They know it. No, I'm a flag ratepayer on a lot of different levels, so.
But if I might, it seems like we probably have enough flexibility with staff to make arrangements with that kind of stuff if it does happen, that I don't see that being an issue. Like I said, the board did change the policy last time when we brought it forward. If that's the board's pleasure, we'll consider it, but I'm not sure how you feel about changing it or not.
I would move we increase the late days to 5.
Is that an easy thing to do? You just said.
I don't.
Internally.
Yeah, I don't know if the policy allows that without putting our billing cycles to where we're starting to overlap again.
If I may.
Right, that's.
I'll let Tom
Yeah,
address
I
that.
mean, the grace period means above and beyond what your policy says. The policy, the written policy, the ordinance is always gonna say 20 days. And then the grace period gives you the extra days there. So that's completely flexibility here. We don't have to change a policy, but we can take direction and do that internally. We have to, it's scheduled out already, so there's a little bit of work in changing that calendar and looking for holidays.
I made the
and-
motion formally so that we could either get it done or get it gone.
Well, I don't think you want to change it like 3 times in 2 months.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't
Confuses
working.
a lot of people.
If
mostly the
it's not
ratepayers.
working, it needs to be changed, and I don't think it's working. That's why I made the
If we're
motion.
gonna have further discussion, we probably have to have a second first.
Yeah.
Second. Do you have, I thought I saw some telephone information on the slide or two before this one.
Yes.
What's that about?
The last time at the March meeting, you had asked about metrics as far as how many calls we're getting, what type of calls are the customers. So what we did was we started, from that meeting forward, we started keeping these statistics. So this isn't a full month of March, but this is I'd say 3/4 of the month. And basically what we did was we wanted to find out how many customers were calling about the late fee, the change in the late fees, and how many calls were there, how many people were upset, and then other types of calls. You'd ask also what other types of calls do we track. And the first 2 columns on this are the late calls where the customer's okay, where the customer would call up and say, I just got a call from you, what was that about? And we would explain it again, and they would, oh, okay, And the next one is where they were upset. And because of the change, and even though we had it on the bills for a couple months ahead of time. When the customers called, we waived the late fees. You know, it's a process, and they were going through it with us. So that was about 16% of all the calls. If we look at just the
A quick question on
Just-
that one. Late calls, customer upset and fee waiver.
Mhm.
What if you have a customer that just calls up and says, hey, I got the bill and I'm late, what do I do? Do you just say send the bill in, or do you say, we're gonna waive the fee? And how do you determine levels of upset?
That, the second part of your question, yeah, that was kind of arbitrary. I mean, it was left to the people who answer the phone all day, you know, every day, and they can kind of judge, yeah, this person's upset, or no, this is a regular call. The first part of the question, I would defer to Rosie, our customer service supervisor, as far as the processes that they go through in
Yeah,
order to.
If I can add, on the waiving of the fee, if it's a first time, we'll waive it.
Yeah.
If it was like in
For
response.
everyone.
For
Correct.
everyone. If
Correct.
if it's
Doesn't matter whether they're upset or they're very polite.
That's correct. They can be upset and they have 5 late fees, we're not gonna waive that late fee. You know, but if it was 5 late fees and then they were late because we implemented this change, we waive that one. But in response to that, but everybody's treated the same.
Okay, so polite or upset doesn't make a
It
difference.
doesn't make a difference.
Squeaky wheel doesn't get the oil, it gets replaced.
If they're a history every month of being late and trying to waive the fee, the answer is no.
Counselor?
I'll probably get some rocks thrown at me, but what if you just extend, I know the delinquent is 20 days out, and by the time you get the bill, gets mailed out and it gets to your house, I mean, it gives you about 2 weeks to pay it. And I'm not sure if it fits into your cycle, but what if you just added 5 days on the
Yeah.
20 days to make it delinquent 25 days?
Jeff,
So you're not so much,
I know I have to make my car payment on the 20th of every month. I have an obligation to pay my bills on time. You know when your bill's coming and you know when the bill's due.
I was just, I know, but I'm
We're
just
again-
saying that that's a
We're again
pretty short
changing or
fuse.
considering changing a policy that you can't accommodate when you got 16 billing cycles, and that's gonna get bigger. So if it's just something that we have the flexibility within our existing to go from 3 to 4 to 5, or what this shows right here is out of all the phone calls we get, out of 1,600 last month, you had 265 that are associated with this issue. That's it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Out of 22,000 bills.
I didn't let him get through the
Then-
balance of that. 'Cause thank you.
25 or, yeah, 25 into 365 is 16. I'm just saying, you know, there's 16 cycles in there.
Thank you, Counselor. Continue with explaining, because these are all the calls that came in the month of March, well, part that you tracked in March. Okay, so 21% were, hey, I'm calling you. You're not calling them. They're calling you on a callback to say, hey, sorry, thanks for the reminder, I'm sending a check today. Is that what happens with 21%?
Or they wanted to know why we were calling them. And,
When you call them, do you leave a message?
yeah, yes, absolutely. If an answering machine picks up, yeah.
So why are they calling you to ask why you're calling? You probably
Because
left
sometimes
that
people
message.
answer the phone and not listen to the.
It's not a main call.
Okay. Okay, and then 16% are late calls and the customers are definitely upset. Because that's what it says, customers
Mhm,
upset and the fee waived.
Mhm.
But where are the late calls where the people are polite?
They're in that same group.
That's the first group, the late calls with the customers, okay.
Oh, customers, okay.
Yeah, customers, okay.
Gotcha, okay.
That's
But
true.
their fees weren't waived,
If they requested them, yeah.
but if they didn't,
Um,
here's what I'm trying to get to, is we gotta be fair to everybody.
yeah.
But, well, I would be the customer who would get the bill, have a late fee on it, look and see if I was late, be annoyed with myself, pay the late bill, and I would never call you. And if you called me and said I owed you one, I would be the customer because my phone machine is so bad, and I just refuse to get another one. All I would really get was, oh, Vallecitos called me, I want to figure out what it's about. I would call you back, you would tell me, I too would pay it. I would never think to ask for it to be waived. Now, I'm not saying that your question is a valid question, but as a district, we cannot say, you know, these people, they're late, but you know, they've never bothered us and they've never been late before, so let's waive the fee and they'd never have a first late fee. If we're gonna be fair, no one would ever have a late fee. So we have to have a first. So I feel the percentage is what's important here, and I totally understand where you're coming from on this, Jim, but if we have only 1,600 people, and out of that, we only have 37% who are calling, and out of the 37% who called about their bill, only 16% were even called or upset. I would say customer service is doing a great job. They're waiving them. If the person calls and is happy to understand, I mean, I don't want my late fees waived if I deserve them, personally. So I wouldn't want them to say, oh, and by the way, since you called and you were so nice, we won't charge you. So that becomes just a discretion of our customer service.
So my question to you is, if you knew that your neighbor called and he went up one side of the operator and down the other, and he got his waived,
One time.
I would think he had a very unhappy life and should try. I mean, that's not the point. What
so
we're
you're
doing-
rewarding bad behavior.
The
That's
whole
as bad as
world,
the school
the
district.
whole world rewards bad behavior.
That's not why
If
it
you're
was
not
waived.
caught, but that's not the point.
They were saying the reason it was waived was because it was a one-time thing.
Yeah, and it's
So
noted in the.
If it wasn't a
in the file.
one-time thing, you'd be looking at the customer's history and say, well, this has happened before, so.
Exactly.
Let me clarify this point too. The calls go out before the fee is assessed. So the nature of the call is that we haven't received payment yet. Please make payment within the next 2 business days, or if it's on a Thursday or Friday, the next 3 business. And that's when they call up and they say, why did you call us? And they haven't had a late fee yet, so there's basically nothing to waive at that point. So they're okay with the call, and then they make their payment.
Payment arrangement, what does that mean?
That's when they call up and they say, I'm having a tough time this month. Is there any way I can spread this out over 2 months? Something along those lines.
Whether they're upset or polite.
Yes, yeah.
Do they?
Work with them.
So we do payment arrangements?
Yes, sir.
Is there some written guidelines as to that, how that's implemented, and
It's.
is it just case by case?
It's case by case. We don't go usually over 3 months, I think, is the most we'll allow is the 3 months, because we don't want customers to get so far behind that they're, got their current bill plus their old bill, so it's usually 2 or 3 months.
Okay, that's interesting.
But it happens more than I would suspect, because that was 300 people for a portion of March. I don't know that portion, but whatever it was 300 people that made payment arrangements. That's a big
Some of
number.
those 300 inquiries or
Yeah,
actually?
300 inquiries.
I think, I don't think it was
Yeah.
300 payment arrangements, it was just
Call they're
inquiries.
relating to. They could have had one already and calling about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stop.
I'd like to learn a little bit more about how that process works. We don't have to do it tonight. Maybe we come back to it at another meeting, but I think we're kind of opening ourselves up a little bit to some risk when we start making arrangements just solely on a case by case, and maybe one customer has a certain arrangement, the other one has a different arrangement, because there's no written guidelines of how we implement it, or what ways we enforce it, or when do we cut it off. We need to have some sort of policy or guideline to be able to say, yes, we can understand and appreciate your situation, we will make it some sort of accommodation for you, but here's the guidelines and here's the parameters of that accommodation.
Mr. Attorney, isn't that prudent legal background, to have a policy in place so that you don't?
Well, and I
single
think the
people
staff could develop an internal policy and just share it with the board. I don't know that it necessarily means you have to adopt a formal, outline policy, but I think staff can come back to you and say, here's what we do in a given situation. And maybe a little more articulation from Tom as far as how as a practical manner, the process works.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, a little.
Just for clarification though, is this a problem that we're experiencing, this arrangement situation?
No, I think it actually saves us in some situations. It's better to get,
Better to
something
get
than
something than
nothing.
nothing.
And there are, especially, lately, there are some people that are having a tough time paying. And our payment arrangements, it's not the.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I know you make arrangements, I've had arrangements made.
Yeah.
So, and it seems to work. I'm asking, is making arrangements causing a problem for service department and/or the district?
No, it's,
Okay.
you know, a
Yeah.
little bit of time into it, but it's,
Yeah.
the software can handle it.
Yeah, exactly.
Track it.
All right, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, the balance inquiry, someone calls to inquire how much their water bill is.
What's their balance? What do they owe? Yeah.
I think it's different than what's on the bill.
Maybe they don't have their bill, or they lost their bill, or no, not exactly sure why they call for that, but what they do.
And miscellaneous other, the 216.
Miscellaneous other,
Give me an
there's-
idea of what that could be.
Sure, there's pressure, for instance, you know, I have low water pressure, and they'll want to talk about that, and it may not be, if you look, the category right before that is a service request.
Right.
And sometimes if they call up and they say, I've got low pressure, I want someone to come out, well, that becomes a service request. If they just want to talk about the water pressure and their customer service representative talks to them on the phone, that's a miscellaneous other.
So we're continuing this
Yes.
as an ongoing, forever type of option. Okay, so we have a motion. Would you,
I move that we increase the grace period from 3 to 5 days.
but, okay, but a question again, I made the second, but the question is, the grace period, is that something that we have in the original ordinance, or that's just?
No, the grace period, the ordinance has 20 days, you're late.
Right.
And then internally, well, grace period is what we allow, you know, above and beyond. That's literally what the term means.
So do we have to do something, or can we just give you direction to make the grace period, seeing as that seems to be
If there's a board consensus, that would probably be
I only
fine.
did it formally so we could
Then.
move forward. I don't care one way or the other. I just, as long as I get my 5 days, I don't care how we, or at least vote on it or
a?
ask
What would
about
you
it.
prefer? Do you want?
The only
You
situation
don't
is
need to
if it-
adopt or modify the resolution. What that's gonna do is, if we adopt a 5-day, and that's what you tell me to do, what it's gonna do is probably put the billing cycles out of whack.
it might get very close to that second bill, and that's what we're trying to
What I would
avoid.
suggest is that we do the notice, we do the phone call. If somebody has an issue and they talk to customer service and they say, 3 to 5, just leave the flexibility, because you have now some weekends where 7, 8, 9 days, the grace period. So you're trying to nail a policy down on something that has 14 to 16 cycles through the year, trying to accommodate holidays, weekends, all of the other myriad of things that pop up, to say it's 5 days. I don't know that that's functional.
Okay,
I just don't know that it is.
so that, okay with you? For staff to handle it, make it 5 days instead of 3 days. They'll do it, it's a grace period.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
I don't care how we
We're
can,
not
yeah, no,
changing
that's
the law.
fine. We don't need to mention it. We certainly don't need to change the policy.
Okay.
If we can make it 5 days, fine. I'm
Okay.
happy. If not, I'll go and make.
All let's say is, we'll make it as long as we can, 3 to 5
Before we
days.
hit the next bill.
But we'll have to look at the next billing cycle, see what it does.
Okay.
And I'll just report back to you next board.
And I'll rescind my second.
I'll rescind my motion.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you, and
Thank
we'll
you.
see how it goes in a month.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. All right, capital improvement project update.
James?
Just give me a second to get this up. Okay, thank you, President Martin, members of the board. This is basically a quarterly update. We actually skipped last quarter, and I realized that most of the board has not seen this in at least 6 months, or only seen this once, and Director Sinella, I think this is your first time seeing this. So let me spend a little bit of time to go over what you have. You should have basically a paper copy of this map that I have on the board, and this is a district map here, which has numbers on it. The numbers are, and each one of those boxes are district capital improvement projects. And basically, for ease, as we go into the reports, I'll go in sequence by number. You can always refer back to that map to see where it is located within the district. Also, you'll see some gray boxes and boxes that don't have numbers. Those are CIPs that we have that we aren't actively working on. The gray ones are CIPs that are finished. Now, since this is actually 2 quarterly reports rolled into one, you're going to see some dates on here that was from the previous quarter, but since the engineering department was not able to bring you guys a CIP update due to timing and scheduling, I left it on here. So you're really getting 2 quarters right now, and we're catching you all up, and we hope to bring it systematically every quarter to the board for updates. With that, let me go through the next one here, which is item number 1. Oops. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry, I thought it was the whole thing. So, okay, so going to your packet.
We got it.
Now you'll see how easy it is.
Yes.
Page 72.
Page 72, thank you. And I need to get there.
We like books with lots of pictures.
Yep. Okay. Whoops, my link's not working today.
The link doesn't work for that one.
Yeah, page 72, MRF solids force main, you'll see the one there. And what we have is basically a description of the project. We have the quarterly update, what happened this quarter. Now, in this case, it's really 2 quarters that's in that update. Any change orders for the quarter, and then a schedule and outstanding issues. And then on the next item where you see financials will be the table and whatever phase the project's in. So in this case, this project's in design, will be the financials for the design. So to go over this one, it's the Metal Arc solids main, force main replacement. It's basically a replacement of about 5,700 feet, basically a little bit over a mile of 6-inch ductile iron force main. This is the force main that is basically prone to failure, especially during cold winter months, but in general it's failed several times and it's basically a need for replacement. And this is the one that our ops crews have systematically repaired over and over again, especially in that Red Wing area, right off of Rancho Santa Fe Road. This is a budgeted item, and over the last 2 quarters, really, we've completed the 50% design and specifications. We're actually on process to doing to 90%. There's been 1 change order given to our consultant, which is Nolte, and that's because during the design phase of bringing the new line through the plant, the plant corridor, that road that goes into the plant, and all the board members have been there now, is fairly narrow, and there's a lot of utilities there. So we have to relocate some of those utilities to make room for the new pipe. And those utilities that we chose to relocate are actually in fairly bad condition. They're from the original plant, and they need replacement anyway. So we're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So that's a design change order for $22,000 to accommodate that. You can see the schedule here. Completion, we hope to get the design completed by the summer, basically, before the end of the fiscal year. Construction completed by April of next year. So we hope this project is actually in construction by mid to late summer and into fall this year. So,
James,
yes.
would you explain to me the process start to finish? Because if I remember, it was in the first couple of months when I was first on the board that we heard about this, and it was having problems. It's a rather lengthy fix.
Yes, so for this project, Director Martin, when you first entered the board, it was not a budgeted item. Matter of fact, it was a prone problem. There were several repairs, emergency repairs that had happened. And the next fiscal year, the next available time, district staff budgeted for this item. From then, the first thing we did is we had to figure out where to put the pipe. So we did a planning study. We hired a consultant, went through a consultant selection process first, then did a planning study to figure out what alignment. We looked at several different alignments, replacing it in the existing trench, which had environmental concerns, going up Rancho Santa Fe Road, going up Melrose, and a couple different sub-alternatives. And we ended up, the new pipe is going to go through the plant and up Melrose, over the hill, over towards Poinsettia on Melrose. And that's the final alignment. From there, when we pick the alignment, we start the design. The design process goes through. Around 50% design, we stop and we go out there and we pothole. We actually send crews out there, whether it's our crews or consultants, contractor, to pothole existing utilities and crossing, to make sure that when we go out there, when we actually put this thing into construction, we don't have major change orders. And then I'm back at the board begging for money and asking for forgiveness. So that helps ensure that the design is more secure. We've done our due diligence, and we have a corridor for the pipe that's going to work, and we don't have any critical failures as far as the design goes.
Yeah, my question is, when staff designated it as a prone problem, how long ago was that? Because there have been multiple breaks.
Yeah, there's been multiple
Over the
breaks.
years.
Yeah, there's been multiple breaks, but they've always been confined to only a couple areas, right behind the plant and that area which is off Rancho Santa Fe Road, which is off of Red Wing. That's primary, as far as my knowledge, is where the areas have broken. But when looking at the pipe condition and talking with the ops crews, there's some degradation in the pipe throughout, and it is a ductile iron pipe. It has been in the ground for 40-plus years. So its life of service has probably reached its limit. So it's basically...
Do we have other duct iron pipe that's been in the ground 40 years?
Yes, but not solids. This is water is a lot less corrosive than solids. This is actually much more corrosive because this is the concentrated product of creating recycled water. So this is higher in salts, higher in grit. It's rougher. It's more of a slurry, even though it's still mainly water than even sewer. So the nature of this is much more corrosive. There's other pipes that have been in the ground, and ductile iron in good condition can stay in the ground forever.
We have a lot of ductile iron pipe. But this one is subject. It also went through an area that was a highly corrosive soil. And this was a pipe that I think I've explained this over the years, where we had to do that temporary realignment of some reclaimed water. It was a developer-funded pipe that went in the ground, and let's just say the quality of the wrapping plastic that went on it wasn't the best. That's the biggest reason.
Okay, thank you.
So basically, outstanding issues on this pipe is it's 90% complete, and getting those plans and specs and finishing up the pothole. We're going to try and move on to 100%. And you can see right now we've only paid out about 47% of the consultant contract. The next item I'll spend a little bit of time explaining, because this one's a construction project that the board has already seen a couple times, and this one's actually complete now, which is on the next page, number 2, the 12-inch fail-safe replacement at Red Wing.
On the screen now, too.
I'm sorry?
On the screen now as well.
Oh, it's on the screen now. Good.
Before you move on, just maybe this question for Tom, more for my education than anything else. When you said it's 90% complete, that's the construction plans, but the actual construction is not going to be completed until the following fiscal year, correct?
Correct, yeah. We'll typically never use there's submittals. So in the contract, there's a 50%, a 90%, a 100%. Within construction, we don't usually use those terms, but yes, you're absolutely correct. These are designed.
Okay, so we have for budgeted in this current fiscal year, the entire $1.5 million for this project. The majority of it's going to be used in the following fiscal year. So do we accrue that to next year? Is that?
Well, they actually space out, it's total,
That's
the
total.
1.5. And if you look on, when we go through budget, you'll see that we actually space it out
So
over
it's
5
not,
years.
so,
and even
so this entire 1.5 is not hit this current?
Not necessarily,
okay,
no.
good.
There's,
Okay.
and we also break it up by design, construction,
Okay,
too. so you
that
can
makes
see.
sense. That's,
Yeah, I didn't want to add a lot of columns.
sure, no problem.
Yeah, when we do go through the budget this time, you'll see a multi-year projection of when we actually think we'll spend the money based on the construction schedule.
That makes sense now, thank you.
So, next project is a construction project, so the financials represent the construction, so it's always the phase that the project's in. It's a 12-inch outfall. This, too, was on that Red Wing Street off of Rancho Santa Fe Road, right next to the existing solids line that we just talked about in the previous report. And 405 feet was placed. Now, this 405 feet that was replaced had several bends. It was very deep. We shallowed it up, put it in a brand-new trench, and put in a material that is more suitable. We put in PVC material, which is not prone to corrosion. The soil, though, is extremely expansive, very clay soils, and also very corrosive. All this project was completed. Matter of fact, there was a change order that was brought to the board in November 6, 2013 for that. And you can see when you look at the financials what the total was, the number of change orders, and the change order percentage on this project. And that's how each one of these will be laid out as we move forward. So with that, project number 3 is the lift station number 1. This is the number 1 lift station, which is right off of San Marcos Boulevard near the high school. This is a replacement, or actually addition of a new pump to bring that pump station from a 2,000 gallon per minute pump station to a 3,100 gallon per minute pump station. This will deliver more sewer to Meadowlark, so Meadowlark could create and produce more recycled water. This is also a project that has the Prop 84 grant funding, which was secured over the last 2 quarters, and the 90% plans and specifications have been completed. Basically, if you look at the outstanding issues, where the pump is on order, we're waiting for a schedule for the pump, and we're going to actually finish up the plans and bid this project up here in the next few months, hopefully. And the district has also secured an additional $150,000 offset credit, and we're actually reviewing the contract for that right now to bring forward to the board. So total project, this project's actually about a $600,000 project, but with the $300,000 or a little bit over $300,000 in Prop 84, which is state grant, plus the $150,000, this project will be fairly inexpensive for the district. So,
James?
we got 450 of the 600 basically coming.
While that's being done, are we doing something about the scrubbers? Odor's a problem in that neighborhood with the fugitive odors. What are we doing, now we're putting more sewage, what are we doing to?
Well, it's the same
decrease
amount of
that?
sewage, it's the same amount of sewage that goes by, because the fugitive odors that are there, there's more than one reason for it. One of the main reasons for it is the sewer backs up in that area. So the San Marcos Interceptor job, the Phase 2 project, which I'll talk a little briefly about, that will help hydraulically with the sewer flowing. And operations is also looking at different methods to help capture some of those fugitive odors and eliminate.
When are we looking at doing those? That's something that everyone in town notices, everyone
Yeah.
drives San Marcos Boulevard, looking bad for us.
We've got a couple projects in the budget that you'll see soon.
That are gonna take care of the problem? We hope, I probably, should, could.
It is a wastewater facility, which means it's going to stink. You can capture 90% of it, but there are times when odors get out, just like the treatment plant. We capture the majority of it, but there are times where they do stink. The big thing James is talking
And I understand there
about.
are times, it's a question of how often.
Yeah, the other thing that James is talking about is right now, because of the construction facilities over the years, and you have to remember that lift station went in 1966, 68. There's actually a little bit of a dip when the sewer comes into the wet well. So what it does is it backs it up and the sewer then vents. So instead of being an air column on top of it and going straight through, it backs up and forces odors up and out. When they build the last phase of the pipe, it will eliminate that hydraulic jump, which will help greatly with the odors.
Isn't there a way, there's a stopgap to put something on the vent to stop it from venting the odors?
No, it has to vent.
No, it has to vent, but they can capture the odors while it's venting?
No. You're talking off the
There's no
top of,
such thing?
you're talking off the top of manholes going down the road out and everything else.
Yeah, Director Martin, you're just chasing the problem to the next manhole. If you do it one place, then the odors will go to the next one.
If we can chase it to Carlsbad, that's okay.
Well, unfortunately, it's gonna be chasing upstream, which is more towards the freeway.
Big fans on
Thank you.
The next project number 4, San Loyo Hills Pump Station. That is the pump station that's necessary to get deliveries of 2,750 acre feet a year from the Livenham. The project, during the last 2 quarters, we completed 90% design. We actually brought forward to the board an addendum to the master plan programmatic EIR to add that project environmentally. We also got the appraisal for the site completed, and we also gained approval of the wildlife agency. So the environmental agencies bought off on us going into the conservation easement and building this pump station without any additional mitigation measures. And we got that in writing.
Very good.
So outstanding is obviously to complete the actual acquisition of easements from the Center for Natural Lands Management. We're actually in the process of that right now, and draft a operations procedural manual basically between Livenheim and VWD for how we're going to operate the facility, ask for water, deliver water. And you can see right now we're about 55% through the budget for design. Linda Vista East is project number 5, and that project is about 3,600 feet of replacement of 8-inch pipe to 12 and 15-inch pipe. Bids were open, and we've actually already brought this forward to the board for award. There was one contract amendment for Harrison Associates, which is our design consultant. Typically, what we do is we award a design consultant, and then we withhold the construction phase services, which is to help their construction for review of submittals until they're done, making sure we're happy with their performance. So we were happy with Harris's performance, so we gave them the contract addendum for $77,400 during the last quarter. And also, you can see here, we're going to issue the notice to proceed. Actually, it's April 21st will be the notice to proceed on that project. Contractor hopes to be out there digging by May, and we're going to start the construction. So, project 6, Knoll Road sewer replacement. This is a small sewer replacement, Knoll Road right here, basically in front of McDonald's and Home Depot, all the way out to the middle of San Marcos Boulevard. So, and I want to clarify that middle of San Marcos Boulevard because that's actually Caltrans right away. So this project is a replacement of 2 sections of pipe that are either bellied or offset, which means there's a break in the pipe or there's a dip in the pipe. So instead of an 8-inch sewer, you actually have a constricted sewer because it's always full because there's a dip, which creates what we call an enhanced maintenance area and a concern for ops crews.
Quick question, James, on bellied areas, are those something that can be traced back to a developer, or a development, or a road builder, or you can say there's a reason, or it just?
It could have been ground settlement, you don't really know. A lot of
No way to
times it's,
prove it.
you know, everything was gone in and the ground settled, it could be just over time, and where, it's hard to say. I mean, it could be earth movement, so this simple answer is no, unfortunately.
Thank you.
So, obviously, we awarded a design contract to do that. Even though this is a small project, it requires an extensive amount of traffic control plans, and also it requires a Caltrans permit. And basically, we're looking, if you look at the outstanding items, it's completing design and obtain that Caltrans permit. So, San Marcos Interceptor Phase 1, this is the large project. Now, the description shows the overall project is about 9,000 feet. So the overall project comes from that lift station that we talked about all the way to almost Twin Oaks. But several sections have been already built and completed. So the section which we call Phase 1 is actually a section that is the tunnel underneath the 78 through Camping World and Holland Motors, orbits, and then underneath Johnson Lane, and ends just east, basically several hundred feet east of Twin Oaks, out in the field. And that portion is actually now done. Over the last 2 quarters, we've completed the project. Really the outstanding, and there's been no change orders on that job, which has been great news. Outstanding issues really right now is the environmental. We're completing the invasive species removal, which is required by our permit, and we're obtaining written releases from the properties that we dug through to make sure they're satisfied before we release the contractor. This project actually will be coming back, hopefully, to the next board meeting for acceptance. And there is one change order, so I lied. There's one change order that I processed just this week, and it's a negative $250,000 credit back to the district. So if you look at this job, it's $4.52 million contract, and basically we paid about 3.9 out currently, and and the rest is retention, and we have one more building that's in the cycle, and then also we'll have a $250,000 credit coming back to us. So
Great job. Yes.
Hey, James, so that was the project that went underneath those couple of houses, right?
yeah, one underneath 4 houses on Johnson.
And when you're talking about invasive species, is that storm drain that goes, that big
The big channel,
big
correct.
channel goes through there?
Yeah, there's the Army Corps primarily tasked the district of removing what they call the Arundo, which was closer to Twin Oaks. It's a big, bushy, I can't really describe it, but.
Looks like bamboo.
Yeah, it looks like big bamboo, thank you.
So how much of that do you have to clear out?
All of it.
Of course.
All of it, and there's a 5-year monitoring plan. There's also a 5-year monitoring plan. However, if the site develops on that corner, about 50% of that responsibility will disappear because that'll become paved, and it'll become building. So then our scope will get reduced. But until then, the Army Corps is holding us to a 5-year maintenance and monitoring of that site, which we have our consultant on board for.
Well, it's probably just as well, because it's so overgrown in that area that it have a major storm event, it would probably blow out the sides of
It's
that.
gone now temporarily, at least.
Great. Thank you.
Richard, anything?
And what prompted the credit change order?
So tunneling underneath those houses, during the bid, there was an addendum sent out. All the tunneling contractors said we need shared liability, because they were afraid to tunnel underneath those homes. So working with the district's consultant, they had a sub that's a tunneling specialist from Colorado, and I can't remember their names right now. They said typically there would be a provision in the contract, basically an item added. The item was added for $250,000, shared liability. The district is going to share if you could prove, so that basically what it says is the contractor proved that there's no negligence on his part. He did everything per standards and per our specification, and there's still settlement, the first $250,000 is on the district. After that, the rest is on them, so it's shared liability. Well, we've done every week survey monitoring points that were surveyed in on those homes, and we've had no settlement, and we've been doing that for 3 months straight. So basically, the last one happened, I think, last week, and we sent the letters out to the homeowners that said, was your elevation, here's your final elevation, there's no change, no issues. Let us know right away if there is any issues, and hopefully we're done. So,
How deep and how large are those, how deep under the house?
about 18 feet.
How,
18 feet from
18
top of
feet
pipe
below.
to bottom of the house.
okay, and how big is pipe?
42 inches, 36 inches inside, and about 4.5 feet outside.
Big pipe.
Oh, no, sorry, I mean 42 inches outside.
Yeah, 42 inches,
Yeah,
yeah.
42 inches outside. 3.5 feet.
Question?
Great. Project, I believe I'm on 8, right? Yes, thank you. Project 8 is the Richland Tank Number 1 refurbishment. This project is actually completed, so on the next report, you'll see it grayed out. This was the interior and exterior coat, part of our ongoing maintenance of our existing facilities. Basically recoating, repainting of the tanks, both inside and outside, for Richland 1. The work was completed in its entirety and brought to the board on November for acceptance. And there was one change order, it was a credit change order for dehumidification. Again, we put dehumidification in there because a lot of times you never know what's going to happen with the weather. And if it's not the right conditions, the contractor needs to run dehumidification to allow the coating to cure on the inside. And so that's a provision. Now, if we do testing of the air, testing of the conditions inside the tank, if it's not necessary, the contractor doesn't do that work. Fortunately, it was a fairly dry, cool time when they did this job. We didn't get a lot of rain, which adds humidity. As you know, a very dry winter. And the contractor did not need to use dehumidification. So that was the credit change order. So basically, you can see this project here was a $275,000 contract, and there's 2 change orders total. One was for some additional repairs, and one was a credit, resulting in $21,000 credit on the job.
Great job.
Rock Spring Sewer, this is 3,000 feet of sewer that's just off of Rock Spring that goes through a greenbelt. Sewer's prone, the greenbelt's prone to flooding. Sewer itself is prone to taking in that flooding into the sewer system. So this is basically upsizing the sewer and also trying to get it up higher on the greenbelt and relocate it. So this way to eliminate that sewer inflow and infiltration problem.
How do you get it up higher on that green belt? I think we're all familiar with the property.
Well, it's a brand new, it's at the very bottom, and so we're putting it up on the slope of the greenbelt. It doesn't need to be, it needs to be deep to hit both points, but there's some elevation changes. But the bigger issue is with the new PVC sewers, we keep it a little tighter. We use, for example, pressurized sewer pipe, which is meant for water, really water pipe, and it will eliminate infiltration in the pipe, and also keeping the manholes at a higher portion, not at the bottom of that green belt, means there's less likely chance that surface water will flow into those manholes. So, I mean, there's no real magic of it. We're just trying to put a pipe in higher, put better material, and put the manholes higher.
So the old stormwater that usually went to the sewer pipes.
Yep. So with this project, basically we're 90% done in design. We're going through environmental, and actually the next thing the board will see is a CEQA doc, a mitigating negative declaration coming to it, probably in the next 2 months or so. We've completed some of the appraisals, and as you can see from the outstanding items, we're going to get a property agent on board. We need to start negotiating with the property owners for vacation of existing easement and, of course, acquiring new easements on that property.
Is there a property agent we normally use?
We've been using a few different ones with success. They're usually smaller contracts. So we've been using VAP, and we've been using Bill Anderson. Bill Anderson. So historically.
Is that a bid process, or that just?
No, it's a
Choice.
consultant selection process, and it's usually smaller contracts, so it's usually calling up 2 or 3. The next page here is a summary page, and basically what this shows you is how we track everything. You kind of see the totals here. which will produce the tables, and which will be the page after. So you can see we do this by fiscal year, and we have the projected monthlies, and what the projected monthlies are is what the contractor tells us that he's going to bill. So we ask him, submit what you're billing, what's your cash flow. So that's his cash flow, and then we just accumulated all these. And then we have the actual monthlies, which is what we actually get billed, because contractors always want the money up front, so they tell us they're gonna bill a lot, but we won't pay them until they install the stuff, so usually you'll see a big difference between the two. And obviously, we have cumulative, that's just a sum on the side there, that's a cumulative. The big thing is really, it's been low on change orders. We've had 4 change orders, and with that $250,000 credit change order, we're at a negative 208,000, which shows a negative 2.7% change order rate, which is lucky and great. You know, so it's definitely below the standard, and the conditions just worked out this way. From there on, you can see how we kind of manage our consultant contracts, and these are just cumulative. We have it for each job. The spreadsheet basically expands way out. And you can see we have total design contracts. We're at 63% paid out on them. We have inspection contracts or construction management where we are there. The geotech and miscellaneous environmental, a lot of those are, we do some of those designs in-house. We don't have structural in-house, we don't have geotech in-house, so we do have to use some sub-consultants for that, and we use our as-needed consultants. So most of that is our as-needed consultants. And then there's just a totals at the bottom. Really, the reason that's there is for the next sheet, which is the chart. So again, the purple line is what the contractor tells us they're gonna bill every month. So you can see, and the blue bar, not line, sorry, the purple bar and the blue bar. The purple being what they tell us they're gonna bill every month, which is the projected, and the blue is the actual. You can see how it shifts and gets spread out. And that's pretty normal, because contractors will wanna project that they're gonna get their money up front, and in reality, they don't install things as fast, and it kind of gets spread out. And then basically all the yellow and blue are cumulative lines that represent the projected and the actuals. So we can kind of see what our cash flow is, how much money's going out. If you go back to the previous page, you kind of see that, you know, the budget amount might be 39 million. That's total budget over a 5-year period, but really it's about $7.5 million in contracts for construction that we've managed over this fiscal year. So with that, unless there's any questions.
Is there any impacts to the district or to our staff when a contractor projects, like take September of 2013, that when those projections are significantly off like that, is there any impact to us? Are we holding the contractor accountable to those timelines? Is it even an issue?
Yes and no. The impact financially, I imagine, is good because the money's not leaving our account. But as far as the contractor is concerned, we also track his, and the full spreadsheet shows it. I just didn't want to bother the board with it. It shows the notice proceed time, the actual contract completion date, and the actual completion date. So this way we can track if there's possibly liquidated damages, what we do, where they are on the contract time. Obviously, if there's a change order written, it's a change. They usually get more time with that also. So typically, most of the contractors, they may go late. However, there was a change condition, because I've never really worked on a job that hasn't had some change condition, and that also extended the timeline. And a lot of the contractors, they have extra time in the contract. They know they could get the job done in 4 months. There's 6 months built into the contract, so they're assuming that they're going to just go out there and get the job done in the first 4 months, and then they get another job, so they spread it out. So a lot of times it's their own means and methods that create this.
I figured that, but does it create more work for our staff? Does it create budgeting, issues? I mean,
Not for the
No.
engineering side.
We recover, our time through the work orders, so.
okay.
Nice job putting this together. I really like the idea of putting it on the map, numbering them, and then going right through them. So it's very clear. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that's just a note and file, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no action required.
Oh, I'm sorry, James, I have one question. On 2.1, which you didn't give the presentation, too?
Uh,
That was the desal.
Yeah, Rob Scholl is the engineer that works for me, and he's been leading the effort on the agreement. And also part of his development is also to give some more presentations. He gives a lot of the master plan presentation, and he's a planning engineer by trade. So I thought it would be fitting for him to, since he's been shepherding this project since day one, to bring it to the board.
Sure. So do you agree with his estimated $100,000 you're gonna save by Vallecitos doing 2 and 3 or A and B, whichever you look at? Do you see that? Because that was his guesstimation.
We're hoping for more, but yes, he's more conservative than I am. I'm a little bit more aggressive. So we're hoping for more, but I don't want, his numbers are conservative, and you never know with the Water Authority project.
Great job. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. All right.
Is there an ice cream truck coming?
Yes, there is.
I want a popsicle.
That's my
It's
intro
heavy.
music.
It's, I'm coming, Edith, I'm coming.
Oh, boy.
Who was it? Red Fox?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, that's what that is.
Elizabeth.
Can't remember her name. Elizabeth.
Oh,
Come on, Elizabeth.
Strength-based, 2.8, strength-based sewer billing update.
Yes, President Martin, members of the board. In August and September of 2013, staff presented a cost of service study, the results of a cost of service study that was done by Black and Veatch, and some of those recommendations evolved around a sewer rate model and recommendation from them. Originally, in a draft, when the cost of service consultants prepared their draft, they had recommended you got to switch to a strength-based sewer billing. But then they realized there's just not enough time to implement that, and there was no outreach, so they withdrew that recommendation and replaced it with the recommendation to look into it, and keep the board informed about, the process that you're making on looking into something called strength-based billing, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. So the recommendations related to the sewer in Black and Veatch's cost of service study was to allocate costs for sewer based on flows and strengths. Flows and strengths drive costs, so they did a cost allocation for us. They also said test strengths within your district boundaries and for a variety of customer types, and compare them to the ones that they used in the study. They used parameters established by State Water Resources Control Board for strengths. And in fact, today was the first time we actually drew samples to test that. And I also said consider some alternatives. Consider phasing in a strength-based rate methodology. Consider some alternatives and options to that as well. So we formed a team to hypothetically implement a strength-based rate. The best way to do it is just what would happen if you did it. So we're kind of, off to the side, implementing this to see what the fiscal impacts would be to customers, different types of customers. Is there alternatives we can use? And it was just a suggestion from the rate consultant. Doesn't mean we have to go with it. Maybe there's some other alternatives that we can do. So we're looking at that as well. Also addressing, would there be any constraints if we want to switch to something that's so different, like in our billing system and things like that. So we put together a team, as I said, and it's a cross between different departments. There's finance in the team, customer service, information technology, source control and outreach make up this team to look at all aspects of what this would look like. Just for illustrative purposes, put a timeline on so you can see the kind of work we've been doing, the team, which is supported by managers and supervisors in operations, finance, and administration. And what we've done is pulled out some of the information from the cost of service study. The cost of service consultants looked at our categories. One of the recommendations is you got to further break down your categories. It's too generic. Commercial, there's a whole bunch of different types of commercial businesses that dump different types of effluent towards the treatment plant. So basically, the thrust of it, there's different rates for different strengths. So customers burden the system differently. So they gave us a rate model, did a really good job on a sewer rate model if we were to go to something strength-based with different rates. And we charge for commercial on flow. So a return to sewer, 1 unit of water or 100 cubic feet, return to sewer is currently $4.57. And so they're suggesting, well, some should be lower, some should be higher, because they're impacting the treatment plant differently. And what we did further, in further of their analysis, is we looked at some of the other more refined categories, and we just looked at East Bay mud, for example, and you see below some of the other strengths in BOD and SS for more refined categories of customers. And so we'll consider that too. And so what we did is we selected 37 customers from different customer types. We said, well, what are the parameters that the cost of service study people said? What is an alternative we can use that's more refined? And then what are the test results? So, in fact, today was the first time, like I said, that Corey had one out and drawn some samples, and Ian Norton, and so they'll be sending them to Encina to take a look at how they compare to the guidelines. We don't want to just blindly use guidelines provided a standard, so we want to actually validate or attempt to validate those as well. And then down below, for each of these customers that we're sampling, we're saying, well, what are they paying now? What if we switch to a rate base based on a consultant's recommendation? What would the fiscal impact be to these customers? So some of their bills will go down, some of them will go up. This is just illustrative purposes. We're not at a point yet to say what those fiscal impacts are. But again, one of the recommendations and board's direction the last time we met was, well, we don't have to change the rate. The next time we set the rate for sewer is for fiscal year 2016-17. So we'll be before the board adopting rates, recommending rates, but we don't want to get caught in that same situation where, wow, there's a lot of work to do in order to be able to even make a recommendation and give you information to consider and solicit direction from the board. So this is the first time of presenting to you, but we'll be coming back.
Quick question, is there a hard copy of this?
I don't have a hard copy printed out, but I can certainly get that for
And we
you.
didn't, and I remember Director Ferguson used to always ask for that ahead of time, and why don't we have one of those?
Yeah,
We could have looked at it ahead of time.
Yeah, my bad on that. I will certainly provide that to you. This is an evolving thing, and it's
Because it's something for us to study. You're gonna go through it here in a 15-minute, 20-minute, and we're gonna leave here and forget about it.
yeah, I'll certainly get that. I can email that to you too if
We had it.
if that's
I'm just
preferable.
saying, if we had it somewhere.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is going to change too. It's evolving, so it's not a finished product.
And are you planning on actually going out there and doing all this before the next potential rate increase? You're
Correct.
gonna go out and do all the flows? You haven't done them yet.
Yeah, we've started today, like I said, taking samples of flows. And we're also, what we'll also be doing is, let me get to the next steps here. We'll also be doing is looking at what are the other agencies, we already started, looking at what other agencies are doing as well and how they're doing it. There's a few different rate models out there, and we want to see what suits us best, what makes the most sense as well. And also to quantify, like I said, we just started putting a spreadsheet, but we want to quantify those impacts on not just what the rate consultants tell us, but what are some other potential items as well. And then also, just to keep you informed as we go through the process, so you'll be better informed to give us direction on. So when we're at that point in 2016, you'll be better informed to.
So how are these being, just like curiosity,
Mhm.
how are these rate flows being determined now? You said you're already out there in the field.
Yeah,
collecting.
there's a sampler.
How is that happening?
There's a sampler that we put into a washout, into a sewer line. We've already looked at some of the sites that would be easiest to draw a sample from. So we draw a sample. We can only do like 3 or 4 a day because we've got to keep them cool, and we can't overload Encina Wastewater Authority. So we take it to Encina, and they'll run the samples. Probably takes like 4 days to get results back, and then we enter them into our spreadsheet and kind of see, well, how does that compare?
And who's your staff personnel that do the sampling?
We had Ian Norton and Corey Harrell out there today doing the sampling, and then Encina's staff will actually run the tests.
So they go find a washout scene near a restaurant and pull
One of
it
the
up
sample
and write it
customers that
down?
we selected, yeah.
Right, okay.
It's not perfect, we might not catch just that one, there may be some other
Time of
ones
day,
flowing,
everything has
but.
something to do with it, I'm sure.
Oh, exactly, yeah, so it won't be just one, it may be several tests. And we may look at putting actually a sampler out there, so we're getting not just a random time of day, but, so we're looking at options to get a better, more representative sample. We won't be able to sample every one, but we want to get some idea.
Good average. Thank you,
Yeah,
Tom.
absolutely.
Yes, sir.
So, Tom, the intent then is to gather information, so the next time we do a rate change, we can discuss whether or not we want to charge people what it actually costs, because that's what you're basing this on, that's what's being suggested. So, right now, we have the same price across the board,
Mhm.
and essentially, could be some people are subsidizing others.
That's a possibility. Right now, we're recovering all of our costs,
Yeah.
but is there a better way, a more equitable way to do it?
So
That's
whatever
the
that business is, if it's a brewery or
Mhm.
metal fabrication, whatever it is, that could do a higher level, takes a higher level of treatment, then they should pay more, and those that don't would pay less.
Correct,
Something
and
that-
it's mainly the treatment plant, how they impact the treatment plant and how
Very good.
disruptive it is for,
So you're moving away from the social system into a more demand system.
into a nexus, just trying to really come up with a nexus for costs, and that's the drive. That's all I had, unless you have any questions. Okay, and like I said, we'll report back periodically just to let you know how the process is and hopefully have some results and impacts for you pretty soon.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you.
Are you here for the next one?
I'm not knowing, but that'll be John.
So you're no longer anything to do with F and I, huh? You kind of, you're number two now, for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
This is the quarterly investment report, which is required by policy. John is here to answer any questions if you do have any questions, or normally it's a note and file. It's at the board's pleasure, but John's available to answer any questions.
Anyone have questions on it? No. We trusted John.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Great job, John.
Okay, great report.
Yeah, thank you. Reports, General Manager.
Okay. Actually, I believe everything I have today will be in closed session. No report.
Same here.
Okay, nothing to reveal. San Diego County Water Authority.
Just briefly, this past Thursday, they had a special meeting of the Engineering and Operations Committee, and it was very interesting. If anyone's ever interested in having a presentation on it here, we could certainly arrange it, but it was about the San Vicente Reservoir, which has been raised to 17 feet, and it's finally done, although it's going to be going through a lot of litigation. It was almost a year behind construction because of different problems within intermixing of those people involved. And I applaud our district for making sure they don't do those same mistakes. They learned a lot, the district learned a lot in how they had done it. But what was most interesting is the main purpose of that was for water supply. And we're waiting for that El Nino that might come to fill that baby up. But the discussion also centered on an agreement with the city of San Diego and how that San Vicente Reservoir would tie in with, as pumped storage if they go for their water reuse project, how that would work and how it would impact that water, and then also working out deals to make it hydropower opportunities in it. And it was really just sort of like we had today, this is where the dam is, this is the most important part, is it's for water storage. But all of the indirect potable will become very entangled in this whole thing. And then we have the agreement between the City of San Diego and SDG&E and where that's going on hydropower versus the changes that are being made. Very, very, very interesting. And we realize how complicated this system is. Very lovely. Very long report if you ever want to hear more. I'll be happy to
Thank
have you
Your
take me to lunch
your
and I'll
syn-
tell you.
Your synopsis is perfect.
Pardon?
Dennis, if I can ask you, why didn't they look at hydro when they were adding the 17 feet?
Well, the power generation at that dam is not a continual draw, so it's something that with power generation, you have to operate those in a very consistent, normal demand. They don't have that draw there. The project that Director Evans talked about is a pump storage program like they did with Hodges to Leaving, thank you. What they're looking at doing down there is the same thing. They'll pump it up to a storage tank at night when the rates are low, and then during the day they'll generate that, because then they can control a constant rate of flow coming back down. The part that Director Evans is talking about is when you go from IPR, which is indirect potable reuse, there's an intermediate environmental component of treatment. That's the X days in the ground or X days in the reservoir, yada, yada, yada. The trick with doing the pump back is that what they could do is if they were dumping the water at the far end of San Vicente on IPR, and assuming it takes 90 days to get here, if you put a pump back program in there, what it can do is suddenly draw in massive amounts of water at night, stick it in the tank, and you run it back down, and it short circuits the whole environmental process. So then it's like, okay, do we build a big curtain in the middle of San Vicente so the water has to stay on this side and we can't pull it over, and then we release it slowly? So it's amazing how one great project is really cool, but then you suddenly like, ooh, that won't work. But that's what she's talking about, is it could short circuit things.
They really have talked about a curtain.
Yeah.
And then it's also tied in with, we don't really know how much time is gonna be available for pumping the water, depending where the public utilities go. And then on the other side of it, we don't even know yet, because it's not gone through legislation and the public health and that, if the water has to sit 90 days, or if it's going to be only 20 days, or you're just gonna be able to stick a big blender in there and stir it all up. It's really, we're kind of planning the future without all the information, but it's very, very interesting, and I'm grateful that we're trying once again to increase our own supplies.
Thank you. Other questions? Encino Wastewater Capital Improvement Committee.
We have our committee meeting this morning, and the three areas that were brought up were the major rehabilitation of the project, plant project, $4.4 million project, and notice to proceed was given on March 10th. First week of work is going to be August of this year, and involves a 60-inch bypass pipe. And then the second one, which is our alternative fuel receiving facility, that's the FOG facility. Again, that's a $2.2 million project. Storage tanks, pumps, rocks, grinders, blowers. Notice to proceed was January of this year, and there were 50% of design in March. And then the fun one was the budget. And it's, what time is it? We should be done by 9 for sure. But the important part of the budget that I was real interested in was our Pure Green. And Pure Green, we are selling 100% of the product. There's been discussions, 25 was a goal, 50%. 100% of the product is being sold, approximately 6,600 tons. I wrote it down somewhere, with an average, with cost of somewhere between $30 and $24 a ton. They are projecting, now they're bagging it, they're projecting to get $38 a ton for the bulk bags. And this year there'll be a little bit of a $380,000 is what we garnered last year. This year it's going to be a little less because we got some maintenance that needs to be done. So we're going to be shipping our product out the way we used to years and years ago. So that's going to cost us $38,000. But happy about the revenue possibilities, and that's in tonnage. So when we get that thing down to a 30-pound bag, we're going to be making a lot of money.
Jim, when you said 100% of what you're able to produce, not 100% of your solids.
No, that's right, 100% of what we're able to
What you're able
produce.
to
That's right, yes, 100% of what we're able to produce, and our ability to produce is a function of our blowers and our dryers and our manpower and all that. So with more investment, we can do more, so.
So you're peaking out with what you have now.
Yes,
So you need more in order to do more.
yes.
And Jim, this is that product that we received a presentation on a couple months ago?
Yes, that's
That was
right, Pure
great.
Green.
That was quite impressive.
Yes.
That's a good report.
Yeah.
And if you want a one-ton sack,
Oh, yeah.
we'd be more than happy to have it delivered to
We'd
your
be
home.
happy to deliver. I think we'll deliver. Do we deliver?
Yeah, we will
I think
deliver
we
it.
deliver. Yes,
Yeah.
we deliver.
I'll wait for the 30
Yeah.
pounds.
Okay.
We don't
I
spread, but
think
we deliver.
the Escondido Golf Course could probably use some.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And so that's the end of my report.
And wastewater policy and finance.
We haven't had a meeting since our last meeting.
Okay. Director's reports on travel, conferences, seminars. Mr. Hernandez.
Water Council this week, AGC made a presentation and pitched their propaganda.
Explain who AGC is.
Associated
Associated
General
General
Contractors. That's the union side of the construction business. And they're building everything, they told us. But it was, the thing that I really drew away that was very positive is the schooling that they are undertaking, which, and for us old goats, and shop was like, that was the place to be. You go to shop. Am I still correct, Mr. Podol? Shop is.
Sheet metal or wood?
I was a metal, I was wood guy.
Auto.
Or automotive. Mr. Podol,
What's your question?
do we have a shop in our high school these days? Wood shop?
Most high schools don't. San Marcos High School has a marvelous wood shop.
Really?
Yeah, they used to have a metal shop, but that's been done away with. They used to have an auto shop, that's been done away with, and.
IT labs now.
Oh, yeah, for sure that, but they do have a wood shop. Oh, that's very good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. AGC has a school with which they're taking high school students, 9th through 12th grade, a combination program of working in education and doing much like we are doing at CSU San Marcos, trying to gather individuals to move into upper management so that they have the same thing in the industries as well. They're losing all their project managers and assistant, so they're trying to get students involved with that. So that was very beneficial.
I'll just tag on those also at the Kawa. My takeaway was when they brought up the high school, they also brought up the fact that they work with USC.
Yes.
And USC has a program, but they found, which would be a question in my comments later on, that in order to get that program started at USC, they had to find the money. That's what it was all about, was the money. And that's gonna be the same with CSUSM, I'm sure. So I have questions, but I'll ask those later. But it was very interesting the way that he showed what they did, but they found, well, it's the building industry, lucrative amounts of money, $10, $15 million that they get their program off the ground with. But that's what it took to get those programs done, the reality was. So I'll ask you about that later, but it was a great program.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
nice.
and I think that's their ultimate goal is 15. It started with 5, and then the family threw in $1 million, or the
Right.
association. So it was
Right.
$1,500,000 to start it, and then their goal is to raise another 13.5 million to keep it operating.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but very impressive.
Thank you. I have one more if no one else has one. And this is from last month, actually. I went to the North County EDC, which was held right here at Vallecitos. I understand it is monthly, just about?
It's monthly, and now they've gone from a morning meeting to they've switched it to an afternoon now.
Which I greatly suggested to them after I went to the morning meeting, because they had no one show up.
It's
for it,
early.
Unfortunately.
It's early.
And it was way too early. Yeah. You were here, but you were about the only one. But it was informative, and my strongest takeaway from that is that SDG&E is in front of the PUC now, trying to make changes in their peak hour demands, which will affect us, obviously, and will affect operations as far
Big
as
time.
when to pump, when not to pump,
Right.
when to get your water. But I thought that was very interesting. And of course, they're doing it all for us. Which is what I said about smart meters 5 years ago. They came before another body, and they were talking about these great smart meters. And I went, no, that's just so you charge people a lot more money during peak hours. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna have, it could have potentially have a big impact on our capital improvement.
Yeah,
Big impact.
right. But I thought that was very interesting, and I'm sure they're gonna get it because,
They got shot down, the CPUC issued their final ruling on the solar power one, and it went completely against SDG on that, gave a 20-year grandfathering for anybody that had solar projects already. And we're aware of the current one, that they're going down that path too, so we have the same coalition is bird dogging them on that as well.
Yeah, the solar power, I thought the 20 years, I thought that was a great win.
Good compromise.
Good compromise, but again, for entities such as the water district and the city, it doesn't work. It's the right thing to do,
Yeah.
but it's financially, Tom would flip if we were talking about doing it, because you never get your money back from it at this point, at least in our situation. Now, can homeowners actually save money with the standby charge the way it is now?
Well,
Tom?
the few people I know that have put them in, unless you have a very large lot with a very large home, with a very large pool, and you pay a lot in commodity, it doesn't pay for itself. A neighbor of mine put it in across the street, and he told me his monthly bill from STG was like $87. Well, what he didn't take out of that calculation was 35 of it was gas. And then out of the other 40, 22 of it's fixed.
Yeah.
So it was like $19 a month he was saving on a $6,000 project.
Yeah.
I think he got sold. He had a really good salesperson.
Got a little ripe old age.
Yeah.
Thank you. Director Sinella.
Just a question for on your report, Hal. Is the North County EDC going to meet here on a regular basis, or was that a one-time meeting at
No,
this location?
monthly,
regular.
they bring up different topics, but moving into the afternoon made more. They said they had a better turnout when they used to do it in the afternoon. Then they switched it to mornings and it didn't work.
Okay, so what time of day are they going to have it in the future?
I believe it was 4 o'clock.
They're actually looking at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock?
And it's also,
Great.
just so you're aware, it's the policy committee meeting, not the. actual-
Not just at a regular open, okay.
But
And
now-
Ray is with them.
But now I understand that meeting that I went to, that was a policy, that was some meat there. I understand their other meetings are more social.
Yeah, and that's their policy.
That's the policy meeting.
Okay.
This one's a good,
Yes.
okay, so this is where we should be, I'm thinking, rather than the meet and greet.
Then the
Except for
then the-
outreach.
Then the big one for the yeah, that's when everybody gets it's over in Escondido, I think, when they have been having it.
That's like a sundowner, I assume, I haven't done that.
Kind of.
But I really enjoy these policy meetings, they're interesting, and they have good speakers, so. So I will let you know as soon as I finally hear from them.
Thanks.
Mine are done, everyone's done. Okay, moving on. Other business, possible change of regular board meeting, May 7th. That's due to, we're all gonna be, or the majority of us are gonna be at CASA.
No, Aqua.
All right. Sorry.
I did mention this last time I put it on the agenda here today, just in case the board did want to take action. We do have one or two minor things that could come before the board. They're not time sensitive to where I'm too concerned about doing it. So the board's option is to go ahead and just consider not doing it, lack of a quorum. Another option would be to pick another day. Because of the way the these 2 months are staggered, we do have a meeting every 2 weeks. Sometimes it hits where we have a 3-week gap, so if we move it by a week, it's not a big deal. If you were to consider moving this one, it does back it right up to the next board meeting on the 22nd, on the 21st, so. From staff standpoint, if there was just no board meeting, it would not put us in a bind.
Okay, I have no problem with that, as long as staff doesn't think we're gonna be needed for anything. We'll just cancel the 6th?
Pardon?
It's the 7th.
Seven.
Yes, we'll just,
Seven? Sorry.
yeah, we'll just notice that there was no meeting held because of lack of quorum. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. 4.2, quarterly board expenses are attached.
Don't do it. Yeah, that is just again for policy. We have to report your expenses quarterly. It also itemizes expenses directly for representatives to Encina plus Director Evans for the Water Authority. We do note those separately. No action required, note and file is also required.
Thank you. 5.1, director's comments, future agenda items.
Oh, I went there for-
Everybody.
All of us.
Let the ladies go first.
Director Evans.
I had a couple. First, I wanted, it's a question, but I didn't know where else to put it. I just wondered if someone could tell me what VID is doing on the flume off of Richland Road, or whatever that thing is called. You know, the old cement trail? Off of Richland Road, kind of at the base of the Emerald Heights or Escondido Highlands. There's just a lot of trucks in, they've been here for quite a while. I wondered if we knew.
James, why don't you do you have any idea?
James knows. James knows all.
Well, I'm
not too sure if this is that project, but I did talk to VID a little bit ago, and they have some repairs, systematic repairs that they're doing to the line, and that may be it. I know they had some repairs, and they aren't doing anything as far as expanding or making it bigger or anything like that, but I believe it's just repairs.
And that's that little pocket of them in the middle of our
Yes.
district.
Yeah.
I've just been quite a few trucks there, and I use that curve a lot. And then thank you. I also wanted to thank Lisa's department for putting up the bulletin of what was happening. I couldn't make any this particular month, but I really appreciated that was there. I had a third thing, but it's like blown over my head, so I might have to raise my hand again.
Okay. Director Hernandez.
Yes, I have 3 items, if you will. The first is, I've been asked to bring to the board a request to purchase a table for the Boys and Girls Club auction in May, the first Saturday in May. And I think it's part of a desire that I have relative to our public outreach and just being more visible in the community. And it's a table of 8. They could expand it to 10. And a table of 8 is $1,200. A table of 10 is $1,500. And I would like to see if there's any other support to do just that.
Okay. Director Porter.
What is it gonna, does that mean it's gonna be put on a future discussion item?
No,
The
actually,
event's
we have
next
to make a
weekend.
decision this,
Or the weekend after.
tonight, because it's we're not having a,
It's May 3rd.
well, it's after, even if we had the meeting, it would be May 7th, and
Well,
the auction is the 3rd.
Okay. Personally, I don't feel that Vallecitos Water District, that's in our scope of what we do. We're a special district where we collect money from our customers, and then that money goes directly back into operations and improvement of the district. But I don't think it's our responsibility to give our ratepayers money away to a charity program.
I just want to ask, I actually serve on the Boys and Girls Club auction committee. Do I just stay out of this conversation? Do I need to leave?
Well, I don't think you're getting paid, that's probably a volunteer
It is.
position, right? So it's not a
So,
source of
okay.
income, so you're fine.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the Boys and Girls Club is a very worthwhile organization, but I kind of side with the Director Poto, saying I don't feel that this is where ratepayers' money is going. And I also feel after our last workshop where we were talking about increasing our funding to increase our outreach and broaden people's perspective about the water district and conserving water, I don't feel that 10 people at the Boys and Girls Auction is the best use of that money in really educating our public and educating our ratepayers so that they in the end really benefit. But I would have a difficult time supporting that.
Okay, and I see both sides very clearly. The outreach side in a community, it's not a hard line in my opinion. I know that we give away plants, for instance, at street fairs. That's questionable. It's like, do the plants cost us anything? And is it doing anything toward, I don't know. It's an outreach program. I don't know. It does get into it, and Jim Hernandez brought this up. San Marcos is, I think, the city of San Marcos is 90% of our business, or 80%, you can tell me what it is.
about
Not
50,
land
55.
area, but in actual hookups. And then we have some in Carlsbad and Escondido, and then we buy one chair at Escondido, and one chair in Carlsbad, and one chair, I don't know. It's an interesting question. And I have a difficult time with it because I see both points of view very clearly. So I don't know how it would come down.
Well, and I think the economics of it, I think, are insignificant. The ratepayers amount, we have a budget for public outreach, PR, whatever you call it, $1,200 if we decided to do a table of 8, or maybe it's only 5 of us. A table would be at least recognizing the district at the event that we are participating in our community. So it is the district giving back to the community. And so I think it's a small amount, and it, again, in my opinion, is something that we, not particularly and solely this event, but we need to be doing more of, is showing our face out in the community, that we are part of the community, and not only are we taking the ratepayers, but we're giving back in various ways.
Well, and I'm thinking, I don't know this because we haven't used it, but in the past, have we not bought tables for other nonprofits such as the Chamber of Commerce?
No.
We never bought
We have
tables?
sent board members who wanted to go, and they
Right.
got permission to go.
Right.
Because if you look at the policy for any Chamber of Commerce or City of San Marcos, function requires board approval. We've never purchased a table.
Okay, but a seat you have.
Seats, if the board approved, the board to go.
Okay.
Is
And the
San
Boys and
Mar-
Girls Club is not even on the list of
That's my next question.
organizations.
Yeah. Well, you can't really decide anything anyhow right now because it's just in comments, right?
But
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Mr.
this is always could be brought back to you for ratification at some point. I mean, if the board felt that this was something they wanted to participate in, I mean, it's not on the agenda, so you can't really take action, but,
we can't take any action.
no.
Well, that's why, and I did ask to
Yeah.
have it put on the agenda last meeting, and it wasn't on, so I don't quite know. And as it-
I don't
as
recall,
it-
I don't recall that request, Director.
Yeah, because remember, I came around after and said, oh, dang, and I asked that it be put on the agenda. You know, it's
Well-
okay, it didn't get put on, but, I mean, is there a mechanism by which we could bring it to a vote, or do something that, yea or nay? I mean,
I
it
think
is time
that
sensitive.
if it's something that you could ratify at the next board meeting, if this was the consensus of the board was something you wanted to participate in, but you can't take action tonight because it's not on the agenda. But if,
What vehicle would we use to bring it to a head?
That's what Jeff is indicating. You're gonna basically reach consensus, and then you're gonna come back at the next meeting and formalize what you did after the
Oh,
fact.
okay. And how do we just do that, just by
that's
asking
the
a
only way
question?
that I could
It's
see
the
that
only way
you
you
could
can
do
do
it.
it.
Well, then I would like to ask the question. I would like us to purchase a table for the Boys and Girls Club. See where we go.
Okay, so how do you do this? Yeah.
Well, you've got
I'm lost,
two
'cause I-
directors that have indicated that they're not in favor of this,
Right.
okay? Director Hernandez has indicated he's in favor of doing this. So really, there isn't a consensus at this point to do
Yeah.
it.
But in either case, we couldn't do anything about it until the next meeting. Or
Well, you
we
could, as Dennis explained, you could ratify that at the next meeting, you could approve the expenditure at the next meeting.
If three of you basically have consensus,
Yeah, right.
you can do it.
And then-
And then what you're gonna do is you're
Legalize.
gonna come back at the next board meeting as an agenda item,
Right.
and you're gonna formally approve what you did tonight through
It's,
consensus.
it's probably not
It's
the best
probably
way
not
to
the
do it.
sharpest
but
way to do
yeah,
something.
But it is, at this point, it's what you're left
Okay,
with.
so we could either, we could move it forward to ratify it, to move it on the future agenda, put it on the future agenda, and then we could vote it down.
No.
No, you'll have already gone, Hal.
Oh, yeah, we're already gone.
Already done.
Yeah,
Well,
you
yeah, the
already
question is
spent
who
it, so
paid
you-
for it.
Well, yeah, but
I know anyhow.
You have to prove the expenditure.
but we first have to come to a consensus. If we have a consensus, we'll go. If we don't have a consensus,
Right.
we won't go, and then we don't have to worry. If we have a consensus, we'll go, and then on the next board meeting, we'll approve it.
So, I haven't commented yet, not, obviously, I think it's a worthy cause, I spend a lot of time at the Boys and Girls Club. I am kind of a little bit confused though, Jim, and maybe you can help me out by explaining kind of your rationale as far as the return on investment for the ratepayers if we do something like this. I certainly see there's a little aspect of outreach, and I love the idea of supporting the community, but it makes more sense when we go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting and we're interacting, the board members are interacting with the business community, the folks who may, have questions about the water board and stuff like that. But having gone to the last 10 of these auctions, there's interaction amongst the folks at the table and maybe a little bit at the silent auction, but there's not a whole lot of, I'm having trouble seeing the return on investment if we were to.
Then let me paint the picture as I see it.
Okay.
The Boys and Girls Club auction is the premier event in this community. All the major commercial developer entities, utilities, San Diego Gas and Electric is always there. The city always has a table there. Those major players in this community participate in that. I believe we are a major player in this community, and we have not for many, well, probably ever, up until just recently, decided that we want to become more visible in our community. And we are beginning to do that, and it's one of the next items on my list, by talking about the speaker viewer and going out. So this is a way by which the district can say, we are a major player in our community, we are out there, we're doing things, and we will be recognized as such during the event, when name will be up on the board and this, that, and the other. So I think we will begin to stand with the other major groups, individuals, utilities, corporations in our community. And I think we should, and as I say, I know we stand there, we just haven't been visible.
Yeah, I would just like the excellent points, Jim. I mean, excellent. It's, you know, return on investment is not something you can always measure. Obviously, what's our return on investment on bringing every fifth grader from San Marcos through this building? You know, you can't quantify what that return on investment is, the education. You can't quantify what giving plants out at a street fair is, but yet we do it. Appearance does mean a lot, I think, and if you're doing an outreach, I think it, you know, like I said, I'm gonna go in either case, so it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, I'm going as well.
Mr. Paul?
Yeah, I think we need to be careful here, because when we had our little meetings or get-together as a council, I mean, as a board, one of the things this is not about the Boys and Girls Club. This is not about the Boys and Girls Club. However, it's about a nonprofit of which 3 of the board, maybe 4, I don't know if you've been, Betty, have been members of the board.
I have not.
Have you?
I've not, but I was gonna, if I could just add, okay.
So I was just gonna, this won't take long, so I was just gonna say that we need to be careful, because while the Boys and Girls Club is certainly a worthy organization, it is one of many. And so to bring it up, because it could be perceived, because we have 3 board members who have been on the board of that particular organization. And I already said my piece about where I think money should be spent, and so on, I guess.
Go ahead, Director Evans?
Well, I was gonna say, I do have seats there, and my husband and I probably won't be able to go, so if someone on the board would like to go. I wasn't going as Vallecitos, although I am part of Vallecitos. We've also donated money to the Boys and Girls Club, and if you want, I'll be happy to say I donated it for Vallecitos Water District. If that's what we're trying to do, is make an impression, I don't have to have it say it came from our corporation or from us. If that's the goal, is to be an outreach, I could certainly do that. Be happy to do that. Or I can give you my seats at another table. But I really don't feel I can ask the ratepayers to do this. And I hadn't thought about the fact that there's 3 of you very involved in it, and I don't know how that would look to the public.
Okay, so with that, I'm not seeing 3 solid people giving direction. I could be wrong, but I don't see that at this time.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Would you mind going down the board and ask directly?
Certainly. Director Evans?
No.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Sinella?
I think I can support it, but I also think that with something like this, unprecedented, we probably need more of a consensus than 3-2, but I think I can support it.
Director Ford?
No.
And I have to say, I've been very fortunate, with the exception of Jim Hernandez, who's been around longer. probably the longest person on the board, and I still serve in their advisory board, and I have a lot to do with it. And as much as I'd like to say, yes, I can't, because there again, it's not, and even using the outreach, and Jimmy made a great argument for it, but in the weighted scales, I just can't at this time. But what I would like to direct staff to do is to give us the list that, pick three, one of them being a Levenheim, of other interests that they support. Because I'd like to see, I know Levenheim has the biggest list of all, but I haven't seen it. But more active people that are out there, so I don't want, not Fallbrook, not, I want to see.
I'll just get our surrounding neighbors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be good information to
And
point
get
out.
that information for the future for us, because if there seems to be a consensus that that's the way people are doing outreach, then why should we not?
Sure.
But I'd like to get that information. Jim, thank you very much for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
It's a
Thank
great-
you all for
it's a
hearing your
great,
comments.
Great program.
Item number 2, speaking of public outreach, I would like to see, and I thought we were going to have another speakers, and I don't remember the name, PP something.
Europe.
Speakers subcommittee meeting, so we could get an update and move this ball further down the track.
And just, so you know, that's what I thought, but I was told that that isn't what we did.
No.
At the workshop.
That was not,
So,
that was not the
Dennis-
direction from the board at the workshop.
Yeah.
The two topics that came up was the board did not have a problem with the concept of PowerPoint presentations. I think we got a little sideways on throwing PowerPoints up there and instantly wanting to go word by word and pick them apart. That was not the intent.
Right.
That was a draft to show this is what we have, and you could see we didn't get very far. What I've directed Lisa to do, based on what the board's direction was, it was a general feeling of, I hate using the word branding, because that's a misnomer. It really is, we're not a corporation out selling a product. There can be an image that we can look at from a consistency standpoint. Anything we do has the same format, everything is who we are, so we're recognized. That is a form of branding. Branding can cost you from $15,000 to $200,000 in expense. Lisa, over the last couple of weeks, and she continues to do it right now, has reached out to quite a few agencies on what they did, how they've done it, and then she's talked to quite a few consultants on how we approach it, and we do that. She has not finished the memo yet, but then we will be bringing that back to you, then the board can give us the direction. But what I took away from the workshop was the board wanted to look at it, not the PA committee.
Mr. Pope?
Yeah, and that's how I remember it too, because we were all pitching in on that PowerPoint, and it was decided that it should be a board meeting, whatever. But I did want to bring back up when that fog presentation that was put on, the video that was put on, I don't think the rest of the board has seen that. It was when they did it to the community.
Okay.
And it was a very good video, very good presentation, so, and again, I think everybody was stressing that they hadn't reinvented the wheel. They kind of took that from some other agencies, and it came out very professional and very good, so, anyway, I think the board should see that at some point.
I think that was kind of the feeling we got after you saw that one little clip that Lisa showed at the Water Authority that we worked with them
Yeah.
on. A simple clip like that, when you have the ability, gets a big message across very
Right.
quickly. But how do you go meet with a homeowner association and put up a video clip and they show it? So the concept is, okay, if that's the general approach the board wants to do, is have those simple messages that they can see, how do those get translated into hard copy or PowerPoint or talking points? And that's where we need help. That's not what we do.
Right.
I can tell you that right now, that is not what we do. We've got a great staff that can do all the outreach and within our normal area of expertise, but that's a whole different animal. That's what we're getting information on right now.
And my sole reason for asking for another committee meeting was, as I said, to keep moving us down the track. I mean, I heard this discussion last month, that the looking into consultants, and now I'd like to find out when the finalization of whatever we're talking about in the consultant realm is going to be talked about, so that we can move it further. And where I was going with the subcommittee meetings is, if, like any other committee meeting, if you have something every month, and everything gets done a little bit at a time, and you get it done, you're done, as opposed to, well, I'm gonna get to it next month, next board meeting, 3 more meetings from now. So I just would like to see something accomplished in a relative short time period so we could move again this ball down the track.
There's an old saying, if you want to kill something, form a committee. If you want to kill it faster, make it a bigger committee. And I think that's been effectively done here. My personal opinion is that we're all elected by the constituency, and therefore we have no gag order on us whatsoever. And any one of us as an individual can go out and talk to anybody they want to at any time.
You bet.
The idea of creating this was so that we would have a consistent message when we went out there. It wouldn't be exact, but it would be a pretty consistent message. That was the idea. It doesn't seem that's gonna happen. So again, as individuals that have been elected, anyone from the constituency, I made a big deal because I got invited to the Lions Club. I don't plan on doing that in the future. If someone asks me to come and speak to them, I will.
Sure.
But I just thought that maybe if we had structure, it would make everybody happier. But apparently, it's never gonna work that way. Because a committee of 5 designing this, it won't happen.
I
Because
don't-
everyone has their own opinions, and they're all strong, and they're all equal opinions.
The direction I got from the board at the workshop was for this to come forward to the full board, not through the PA committee. That's all I can tell you. That's what I was told.
No. I'm not, and I understand why the board did that. I was there, and as you reminded me, I started remembering bits and pieces of that. It was a long day, but it was like, yeah, I do remember that, and I do, yeah, okay, I remember all that, okay.
What I have asked.
But my opinion is, I would trust any one of these board members going to any group in San Marcos and talking to them about Vallecitos water. I don't have a problem with it. And seeing as I'm the president this year, then there's no problem with it. If you want to go speak to somebody, speak to them.
But, now, in defense of the manager and Lisa, I think the direction was clear, that we do want someone to bring something forward. So if we all go, regardless of who goes when and where, what, there's something that you can flick and click and trick to. And as you've said, this is not our expertise. Let's find someone that has the expertise. We don't want to spend $250,000, but if we spend a little bit of money, and I will, just to be open, I have personally asked a niece of mine who is in this business that I am going to pay some money to, out of my own pocket, to do something out of a storyboard that I created. And if it's worthy of showing to the rest of you, I'll do that. And then we can see what the heck we want to do with it. But I would like to then ask how soon we could get the information relative to these consultants, that we could talk about some kind of branding opportunity.
Yeah, what I've asked Lisa to do is to continue working on several PowerPoints that can be used, and we already have them. We already have these things we use all the time. To wrap that up as well, but to get information on the branding concept. Again, you bring these people in that do this,
Oh, yeah.
it will be no different than NASA within a matter of weeks. Or it could be as simple as need to be. But again, it's a lot to pull together, and she's pulling it together, and we will bring it back to the next available board meeting. The next available board meeting.
Okay.
The next board meeting. Yes,
All
you
right.
will have it back before you.
And,
Does that mean the 21st of May?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, my last item. Thank you, Dennis and staff, or whoever that gave me that report on wells. I only dozed off twice.
That's pretty good.
And I was standing up reading it. So it was, but as I mentioned before, there's certainly more questions than answers, and a lot of things in there that are technical that I still don't have a good handle on. But what it has, again, prompted me to do, I would like, and I don't quite know how to do it correctly, but our North County Recycling Group of America, Addicts Potential, whatever the real name of the group is, I would like to ask the board to officially appoint me as a participant to that, so that I could become more involved and more knowledgeable about the process. We found, or I read in the paper, heard on the news, I think I read in the paper, Escondido just approved the first phase of a much, the way it said, $400 million recycling facility. So there are additional ores going in the water should we get some big money coming down the pipe. So that's, I don't know quite how to do it, but I would like to ask.
I would have to say that is a working group of engineers and managers.
Uh-huh.
And I will have to say that a board member sitting in on behalf of an agency in that work group is going to stymie the work group.
Well, it's gonna happen.
I'll just tell you that
Thank
from
you.
a standpoint of how that works, that's same as NAM. That's so the managers can all get together and talk freely and clearly.
Yes.
And we have that ability to disagree, not agree, and work things out. That does not work well when this type of change happens.
And I do appreciate it, but sooner or later it's gonna happen, and so you might as well be a crazy old guy, being the first one to be a fly on the wall.
Cutting edge.
Let me ask a question on this North County, what's it called?
North County Recycled Water Coalition.
Much better, much shorter, it's a good job. Have we spent any of Vallecitos' money on this group at all?
Yes.
So we're spending money on it, for what?
For funding, going to Washington to get funding, paying for the marketing, paying for part of the IPR, the DPR stuff.
And we got money.
And we've gotten money.
Yeah, we got $5 million. Is that what I remember?
We got 5 million?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how much have we spent?
I can't remember how much our share, we've got another 380,000 coming to us towards studies if we want to do it,
Okay.
in improvements.
Let me say, if there's an outflow of cash, I would think all the boards are interested in what's going on with it, because they're okaying a budget. We're starting to go through the budget process next month. And this has got to be a line item, I would assume, because it's out there in the future.
Part of our operating cost.
So it's not a line item?
No.
It's buried?
It's such a small amount, it's not a
Yeah.
line item, itemized out.
Because it's almost, how much do we have invested in it?
Probably 30,000 over 3 years,
Okay,
maybe.
so, okay. I'm just looking at it as an oversight at some point in time.
Well, I will just, like I said, I'll
At
tell
some
you
point in time.
that this will become an issue with the remainder of the group. I'll tell you that now.
Okay.
I think the board would probably do better to, have some workshops so we can decide what it is we want to focus on without shotgunning out there. So what is it we want to, what's a priority this year for Vallecitos? Is it to make the most of our resources, whatever that means? Is it to be a user of recycled water? Is it to, all of those things, use groundwater? I don't think we're really giving you good direction on that. And so I use the term shotgun just to say, well, somebody's going over here, somebody's going over there, somebody's doing that, and where is it we really want to go? What's the best thing to do?
I think you got two issues there. One is the current strategic plan that you have that's adopted, that you reaffirmed. Under alternate resources, it already says in that document that we're to support and look at recycled water use and regionally, be a regional partner. It says we are to also look at City of Escondido if we can use that in a way because of proximity to our neighbor. That's the direction that we have, that why we're in this process. What you're talking about is the alternate study that the board approved at the last board meeting, which is to look at all options for recycled water and everything else. We're firming up that schedule right now, Rob is, so that I'll know when the workshops are projected, so that I can tell you guys.
Okay, thanks.
Again, I don't know what the procedure is.
You want to put this on the agenda to talk
Yeah.
about in the future?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we can make a decision.
Okay, so in the future, what, specifically put on the agenda, whether we should try and have board,
To appoint me to the North County Recycling Water Committee.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Is there any public involvement whatsoever with this
No.
group?
No.
But You're an architect or an engineer by trade?
I'm on the groundwater committee.
So I'm not quite sure how I agendize this. They're not a formal organization. We don't belong to them as an organization. It's an informal group that 9 to 12 agencies get together once a month and talk, made up of staff and general managers and consultants. So by saying you're appointing somebody, you saying you're gonna go on my
No,
behalf?
no, and just to.
Well, all I can tell you, Jim, is I understand why you want to do it, but from my standpoint, that would be like every MAM meeting that we have for general managers, whether it be in Cena or the Water Authority, whether it be meetings that we have, everything else, you're now getting out of the role of a policymaker and stepping into the role of a doer of staff. That's my concern, and that's the way it's going to be viewed by everybody else in that room.
You know, it's interesting because I have not just willy-nilly decided to do this. I've had some conversations and with two of the major players, and it seemed to be no problem. And I have asked repeatedly to attend one of them, and it's, oh yeah, we'll let you know when it's coming. And let me know when it's coming has never come. So I figured, you know, in order to more formally become involved, that's what I said. I don't know what the process is, but I would like to more formally, I would like to get involved in hearing and seeing what's going on. And I don't know quite how to do that other than this.
Is there a process when, in the past, when you started to do something as a thought process, and then you built it into a little more than that, and at some point in time, the board gets involved? Might be 10 years, I don't know.
If this gets to a point where we're at, let me explain it actually where we're at again. We've presented this to the board 3 or 4 times. The board's been presented, and I think we gave an update several months back. We're flying at the 50,000-foot level. We're looking at all of North County, how can we use beneficially recycled water? We as an agency do not have direction beyond what your current strategic plan says, which is to look and be part of alternatives. We're doing that. The board's aware of this. The board has approved the funding for Furman Group, the Furman Group to do the, I don't want to say marketing, lobbying.
Furman?
The Furman Group, Hal Furman.
Washington,
Furman,
DC.
Furman.
Yeah.
That's the DC trip that Director Hernandez has gotten permission from the board twice to attend.
Okay.
So that's come before the board because obviously that's not an organization we belong to. It takes authorization of the board for somebody to do that. So we've done that 2 times. We have received, I think, 2.8 million total in funds from Prop 84 by virtue of all of us doing it. Lievenhagen takes the lead on that on our behalf because one agency has to do it. We all just signed a participation agreement that says we'll share the cost. We have received back substantially more than we've put into it. So we've completed a preliminary design report that says, okay, for the 2030 period, we need to spend $800 million if we're going to beneficially reuse all of this water. We've been going to Congress. Money is in the WRDA bill this year. We've asked for $50 million as an initial funding from the WRDA bill. Whether or not that will ever come through, who knows? So to get to your point, when we suddenly get to the point where we're talking about getting 20, 30, 50, $100 million in funds that have to be divvied up between 9, 10, 11 agencies who are right now working on a purely voluntary basis with each other. No agreements. There's a cost sharing that we all agree to, and that's where we do it on an equal basis. At some point in time, there may have to be a JPA formed. If the money is coming in and it has to be divvied up or it has to be tracked through an organization. We don't know that will or will not have to happen. If it does happen, we assume it will be a JPA formed of the group and the leadership will transfer year to year to year to year. We are not even close to that. Right now, we're doing a PEIR, program level EIR, on all of the facilities within the document, so that if anybody wants to build something, they try to build something that's usable by everybody. We just didn't want 9 agencies going 9 directions. That's all this is. So right now, there's no need for direct involvement of any of the agencies as far as a policy standpoint.
When you get to the JPA level, how many JPAs are we involved in now?
In Cena.
JPA is generally board representation.
Well, a JPA can be fully staffed, like in Cena. Encina is a JPA, fully staffed as an independent agency.
Right.
You, the board here, makes up once a year out of all the meetings that Encina has, there's only one a year where we come in as the, I forget what they call it, the owners. We have a board meeting once a year as the owners. They vote on the budget, they vote on everything else, and then they take care of it the rest of the year. Now that the MAM meeting is made up of managers, we meet once a month. You have the CIC and the PFC. Those are, can be board members, they can be staff.
Aren't they policymakers?
When the board meets over there, yes. They set
So-
policy for the,
So they have members over there that are not board, they're staff?
Yeah.
That are making policy decisions?
there's alternates on the board that are staff that can vote. Same as Aqua. You can be on a Region 9, Region 10 board, you can be a general manager, or you can be an elected official. But if you're on the board of Aqua itself, they have to be elected officials appointed.
Well, and I don't know this, you can tell me, is our policy, if a board member wants something on the agenda, we put it on there? Is that policy?
What it is, policy says any board member can request anything be put on the agenda.
We put it on the agenda. Okay,
That's all I got.
okay. Anybody else?
I got like 16 things.
That's all?
No, I do have a few. First, I wanted just to thank staff. And I think I'm still learning names, so I apologize. I think the gentleman that brought up the presentation on the metrics has already left.
John.
John. But thank you for.
Still here.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, John. Looking right at you while I'm saying I think you left. A couple of things from that, though, is I like what you did, and that's great, but I see that as just a piece of a broader district-wide metrics program, hopefully, someday. And I'd also like to see, as that data is collected, that we also have some other points to compare it to, month over month, year over year, so as we have more data to look at, we can compare it that way. I think the metrics are important for all of us policymakers, because we're not, like was brought up earlier, we're not doing this 40, 50, 60 hours a week like you guys are. So we need to have some bits of data that we can look and compare, so it kind of help us make our decisions. So, but thank you for doing that. The other thing is that I was on vacation during the last board meeting, so I missed it, but I did go back and did my homework and watched it on the webcast. And one of the topics that was brought up was an update on I think you guys were calling it the Water Academy Tour on May 3rd. So there was an update as far as participation. Is there any additional update since the last update as far as number of people who are going to attend, or?
And this is Washington County, this is the Saturday one, which is much more expensive.
Yes.
So this is a trial run, if I remember correctly.
That's correct. The board wanted to try it on the side to see if we get better
Yes.
participation.
Yeah.
Sort of like jury duty.
Yeah.
People that are on juries because they're not working.
Well, but, because I remember the other tours had a lot of geriatrics my age.
I think
We were
staff,
trying to attract younger people.
yeah, I think staff had mentioned in when I went back and watched it, there was about 15 people signed up at that moment a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we are now full. We have about 102, 110.
So
So we
far.
have a lot on our waiting list for another tour, so.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great update.
Just
I had concerns too.
Out of curiosity, you had a second bus?
We tried that once.
It did.
And I got so well.
And we left-
Why didn't you talk to
We
me?
lost some board members.
Yeah, but that was intentional.
Yeah.
So what is capacity?
57 is on the bus.
That's exciting.
Yeah, we are going to significantly overbook because we end up with about 20% that cancel. It's really disappointing. And we call them, we email them, reminders, everything. So we're going to overbook. We have some vehicles here. We can trail behind and give them a little private tour.
And that was and I remember it was brought up at the last board meeting that they had 15 before they even really advertised it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I know it was in the newsletter and a couple other things, but we didn't do a lot of extensive, didn't cost us any money to advertise it. There's obviously an interest out there, so that's exciting, and I think if this is a trial period, and maybe doing it on a Saturday, I can tell you for somebody who works, Monday through Friday like most people, Saturdays are great.
Yeah.
I can come to most Saturday things. So that's super. That was one of the things I had. And then the other,
Just remember though, we gotta see a return on investment.
of course, I agree wholeheartedly. And that's where I'm gonna go with my next point on this, this is something that we're investing in, right? We need to, and so since we're putting this money out, we're getting the community involved, and that's what we're trying to do. We need to try to market what we're doing and almost kind of, put our fist, hey, look what we're doing. And we got to take advantage of that because we're putting the money out. So we need to get this more, I don't know how we're putting it out in press releases that, hey, it's sold out. We got 57 members of the community and coming, and whatever we're going to do from a marketing standpoint that, hey, we're doing this. If we're paying the money, we might as well do it. So,
Yeah.
And I know, and getting to our website, it wasn't, it's on the website, but it's 3 or 4 pushes of a button kind of buried in there. And, we have on the very front page, we have upcoming events. And when you hit it, nothing comes up. And then if you hit more events, it brings our calendar up. That would be a good place for that, just that and stuff that we're going to do tomorrow night at the high school. If we can, and I've managed websites before. I know it's a full-time job in and of itself. So I'm not sure how the district is keeping the website up to date, but even on the calendar for when you do get to the events calendar, it's month after month is our board meetings. And so if you were just a member of one of our customers and you're looking at our website and you're trying to learn about the district and what events are going on, they have on average two board meetings a month if you look at the calendar. Again, I'm not trying to place blame or anything. I've done this before, and I know you can spend 50, 60 hours a week just keeping a website up. But how does the district keep our website up?
We are working out the bugs on that.
It's just one of the hats that you wear, Lisa? So.
What we started is when we got this new website, we have different department representatives now, engineering and customer service, and every department has a representative that updates their department.
Okay.
It's been a learning curve, to be honest. It's hard for people that go on every month, once a month, and how do I do this again? And it's been a challenge. It's been me running around training.
Yeah, and that's what I figured, and it's certainly not any reflection of you or your team. I think you guys are doing a wonderful job. For the most part, the website looks great. I just think that for a website to be a really useful tool, and if we're going to do all this, as part of our outreach and transparency, if we're going to make these investments and have a tour of our facilities, we got to use this tool as a way to really promote ourselves and let our customers know what we're doing. And if they hear that we had a busload of 57 people touring our events in the paper, either right before the event happened or after the event happened, that'll just help us fill that next bus up.
Yeah.
And I think there is a return on investment. If you're actually bringing the ratepayers on a bus to our facilities, that is a direct return on investment for our ratepayers, because they're going to actually see what they're paying for.
Definitely.
That's the whole point of doing this. So.
No, and I agree. I mean, we should definitely have that on the events thing. We fill up so quick, it's like, oh, we don't need to advertise,
No,
So what we need to do is probably have more Water Academy tours, but it is definitely a staff time consumer across the district as far as different departments as well. So that's something to talk about.
Yeah, so for part of a future discussion, if we can maybe include some more discussion on how we want to handle our website in the future. It's a direct reflection of us, so we have to definitely focus on it. And then I know I had a third item here. Actually, you know what?
Can I tag on to your item?
Sure.
I'll do there while you're thinking of it. A quick question. There's going to be first-time people on Saturday, and they're all going to be constituencies.
They are all yes, basically all of our customers. We've invited a couple of people from the media, some of our partners like Europe Partners. I'm trying to think. I can get you the list.
And what was our cost per person on a Saturday?
It came to
I
about,
know you gave it to us.
oh boy.
It was expensive.
Yeah, the cost just for the bus and the food is around $30 a person. Staff time, it was quite high. I'd have to look up about maybe 8,000, I want to say. Yeah, 8,000. I could get that.
I thought the bus was more than two.
No, actually, the bus and the lunch
Buses
is
and the food's not
fairly
that bad.
reasonable. Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Staff time on the weekend, because again, you
But
have a
I
lot
would
of staff
assume,
out there.
and maybe if there's a way, I know it's a lot more people to corral, but 2 buses, then if staff time's the big expense, then if you can have 2 buses each time, that might be the cheaper way to do it per head.
Yeah, yeah.
But great.
Yeah.
And did you have your third thing yet?
I wrapped it into the website
Okay.
discussion, so.
I'm gonna go, thank you very much for that note, for being on the front page of Splash, telling people where they can find us on the television with the little gavel.
Mhm.
Very cute,
Of
very
course.
nice.
Absolutely.
And that was a good point, and I agree, if we're spending all this money on, we just spent a lot of money on redoing the website,
Mhm.
and I know our IT department gets bigger and bigger and bigger with dashboards. But I think if we spend more time, direction of staff and the board,
Mhm.
spend more time keeping, you've got a website, use it.
Yeah.
You know, it's,
Yeah.
as a small business person, it cost me a fortune to try to keep my website up to date, and it's,
But I think where staff needs some direction, and this is certainly not on Lisa whatsoever, we need to, if we need to apply some more resources towards keeping it up,
Yeah.
then that's something we have to give some guidance on.
isn't it an outside company that does it now?
They designed it, and they give it to us to operate, to update.
Oh,
So
okay.
they do things like putting the Twitter icon on the homepage.
So
They'll
do you have
design.
someone that's their job to do that?
It's everybody, yeah. Yeah, we don't have a
Okay.
webmaster per se, and that's been.
So that's something for us to
yeah.
talk to the general
Yeah.
manager about.
Well, you know, like say you make a point of the size of the IT staff and the, and Lisa's staff, but even for Lisa, figure she has all the outreach, PR. The other two are water conservation. So we really have a PR staff of one.
Wow.
So, you know, I keep hearing, you hear that there's three, well, no, there's really one.
And
Tori and
Alicia.
Lisa are busy full-time with water conservation.
And we outsource her, so we don't
And
really
we
have
outsource
one.
her as well.
How much of her time is outsourced? I mean, do we have a half-old person doing it?
How much?
Truthfully, I don't do that much, it's my staff. Alicia does most of the layouts and things for Encina.
Yeah, for Encina.
And Tori does UEMA's work, so
Right.
it's hours a month, a few hours a month. kind of.
Yeah, but even then, you look at the IT staff, we have three people. Three people doing IT for the size of this organization, the amount of facilities we have is nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely
So, I
nothing.
mean, one thought that came to mind was we may want to look at, just a part-time person that all they do is our website 20 hours a week. Maybe we go to one of the local schools here in San Marcos and see if there's an internship program that we can do. I don't advise that necessarily, but we had some bad luck with that on the EDC, but, there's.
During the new budget, that's the time for us to bring it up to the GM?
Well, and again, every year at the budget, we go through our 5-year staffing plan. It's a rolling document. It's what we thought and what we needed, so.
Right, but if the board thinks that we need a web, that's the time to do it.
Absolutely.
Put it in the budget.
Absolutely.
Put it in the budget and it makes it happen.
Yep. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Couple of things. Oh, and I know I bring this up to Dennis all the time. He's sick of hearing about it. The district transparency thing, which we got our award for, did that go up somewhere?
I
The
think
district
it's,
transparency?
no, that's a different one. Where did the transparency award?
I checked the men's room. I didn't see it.
No, if you can't see it through the front window, we have to shade it. So you can see it through this one.
The suggestion was to put that someplace where our customers could see it. I don't know, you have a lot of customers walk in the door.
That's what I'm saying, you can't put it on the door.
No, not on the door, but I'm just saying, isn't there a wall somewhere?
It's a plane, so it's like a.
Okay, whatever.
We'll find somewhere to put it up.
But that should be a place, and we're working on a district transparency, district of distinction, which is the highest one you can get. And I would like to see, one of my personal goals to try and make that happen this year. And I understand there's only one course that I'm not sure, but staff is shaking
We
in on.
verified today, 4 of you have done it. We have to get Mr. Snella to do it.
He's the only one.
Yes.
And do we find out when that class is, so we could tell him?
We looked it up right for
It's not until
September.
So September. So in September, we need to tell them in plenty of time, hopefully, so you can make it a priority to get to that. Is it a full day? It's not a long time, I know that.
Isn't it like a few days? Is it the one?
No,
that's in-
it's only-
It's a one-day.
It's a one-day
event.
deal.
Okay.
It's just one part of the three.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just if you give me a few weeks notice, then
Yeah.
I'll
We
do
were
everything I
actually just
can to
looking
get
at
there.
it.
And then whatever else we need to do, staff needs to do to make sure we get there, because I think that's important to show people that we've done this over many, many years.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next one is CSUSM. And my question is, I know the very first meeting I attended here, audience member, not that long ago. But, and the board at that time said that, yeah, we will help make this happen. But there was no money put to it at that time. And that was 2012, November meeting of 2012. So in theory, we'll do what we can to support it, not financially, but sweat equity, whatever.
No, it was financial as well.
Was it financial?
Yeah, it was financial as well.
Okay.
Well, let you finish your question before I answer.
Oh, so my question is, what financially are we funding it with? And I assume it's repair money. What financially are we funding it with? And to what goal, especially after hearing the Cowa presentation of how much it takes to get this off the ground and actually have it running and taken in and be accredited and all that stuff. So what are we looking at with this? How much have we spent so far? How much are we looking at spending?
We haven't spent a penny yet.
Okay.
I put a fair amount of my time into it.
Sweat equity, which is, your
Absolutely.
time is our time.
Yep. I put a fair amount of money into it. The board, when we brought this before the board for the resolution, we figured the max we would spend over probably 2 or 3 years was maybe $5,000, max. We were looking at $1,000, $1,500 a year. We have not had to put that forward yet, and that's what the other 8 organizations that have adopted resolutions have agreed to do. Valley Center, actually, Gary donated $5,000 yesterday towards it. Why the program at USC costs so much, I'm gonna guess that's because they are profit-driven. As a university, the contractors group that's doing it through them, they're also profit and union-driven, or profit-driven union. The school here, what they have asked for is, we're starting into the curriculum development now, because we finally got into this first 8-week section. Nobody has been paid as far as a salary. Everybody that's taught has come in free and not charged anybody anything. The university has access to grant funds. They got a $60,000 grant last year that they spent to help pay for staff time plus develop the curriculum. They have additional grant funds that they're going after now. What they are asking all of us to kick in, they were hoping to get $15,000 a year for the first couple of years total. They thought it might be $50,000 total over a couple of years to help pay for the curriculum development only. We're not paying for teachers. It's just their time to develop the curriculum. So as far as what we spent, we haven't spent a penny besides my time. And I'll tell you, there's been a lot of evening time that I put into it. It's not costing the district anything. So during the day, it's very little time. It's mostly after hours. So I think this year, your total expenditure will be $1,500, maybe $1,500 next year. That's, I think, all it will be.
And it was already approved by the board, so
Yeah.
no question.
Yeah, that's it.
And I've heard nothing but great
Oh,
compliments.
it hasn't gotten anything but support from everybody.
Yeah, it's gonna be, mark it on our calendar, this will be an award winner.
The Met Water Authority is adopting a resolution supporting about it the 24th. I've reached out to Metropolitan as well. They won't necessarily support it financially, because you can imagine how many schools within metropolitan service area. Everybody be asking them for money, but what they have agreed to do is actually host an event so that we can go up to Met, and they would host the event, provide all of the goodies, and then allow us to present the program and get UC Irvine, get all the other universities involved, and also just get the word out what we're doing. So that's how they've agreed to help in kind and do that.
Excellent, excellent.
Okay. Any other questions, comments by board members?
I have
Please do.
something I wanted to share, but I need some paperwork, and I don't think it'll be available until after the closed session. So may I share it then?
Sure.
That'd be all right?
Yeah, no reason we-
Just a little short thing, but I do
Yeah,
need
we-
to share.
Okay. Excellent. And with that, if no one else has anything else, I make a motion that we move into closed session.
Can we have a
With a
break?
10-minute break.
Have a motion, please?
A motion. Yeah. no, I-
Second.
I was making the motion. Yeah, I normally don't. I made a motion, and we had a second, 10-minute break, and then we go into closed session.
Okay.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.